lost a genius.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life.
Prince trusted few people. Tavis Smiley was one of them.
Good evening from Los Angeles. I'm Tavis Smiley. Tonight, a rare conversation with one of music's biggest superstars, Prince.
Prince opened up to Tavis in ways he rarely did with anyone else. Honest, unfiltered, and unforgettable. On Tuesday, April 21st, as we mark the 10th anniversary of his transition, experience 3 uninterrupted hours of Prince in his own words.
When people criticize my work and attack my personality, it doesn't help me. I can't do anything with it.
Don't just remember Prince, hear him.
We live in a place now that feels just about like a plantation. We're all indentured servants.
Tavis Smiley, Tuesday, April 21st, only on Tavis Smiley.
Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavissmileyshow.com. That's thetavissmileyshow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, 2 conversations. Up first, we are inside of Black Maternal Health Week, and we'll talk with the renowned OBGYN, Dr. Donna Adams-Pickett, about the urgent need for awareness, advocacy, and action around maternal health disparities. On the B side of our 2, Viktor Orban's defeat in Hungary dealt a real blow to MAGA's international ambitions, even as J.D. Vance traveled to Hungary to campaign for Orban. So, is this the beginning of the end for far-right dictators around the globe, or is it way too soon for that declaration? We'll talk to Matt Duss of the Center for International Policy on the backside of hour 2. In our third hour, Heschel and King. Up first, we'll be joined by Dartmouth professor Susannah Heschel, daughter of the legendary theologian, philosopher, and friend of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. And then on the B side of hour 3, 58 years ago this month, they killed his father on that balcony in Memphis, a conversation with the eldest son of Dr. King and Coretta, Martin Luther King III. Hour 3 is going to be rich, Heschel and King together, in our final hour today. But in this first hour, let's talk politics and more with the Guardian columnist Arwa Mahdawi. Arwa, good to have you on. How are you?
Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you back. Let me do this first. There's so much to talk about with you in this hour. Let me start, I think, with this. So I'm gonna play a clip here in a moment of Jamie Raskin. We all know Jamie Raskin, Democrat of Maryland, ranking member, House Judiciary Committee. Democrats have now we've been discussing this for days now, but Democrats have now introduced a bill to create a 17-member commission with regard to the 25th Amendment. They are moving to invoke this 25th Amendment against President Donald Trump. This bill, again, would create a commission to assess whether or not he is fit to remain in office. You'll recall in the program, what's today, Wednesday, Monday or Tuesday, I mentioned that Jamie Raskin had sent a letter to the White House physician asking for the physician to do a cognitive test on Donald Trump to determine whether or not he's fit to remain in office, and the results of that test ought to be released, those tests, plural, ought to be released to the American people. You all know that we do have a way in this country of typically annually, everything with Trump is a little different, but annually we get a report on the fitness of the president. You also recall all the conversation about Joe Biden's mental acuity. Well, Donald Trump is becoming, to my mind, the mind of many others, more and more unhinged every single day. And so Jamie Raskin sends this letter to the White House physician asking for a cognitive test that we the public, we the people, would be privy to the results of. But now Democrats taking another step, again, introducing a bill to create a commission that would assess whether or not Donald Trump at this point is now fit to remain in office. That's me talking. Here's Jamie Raskin.
Under the 25th Amendment, if the vice president and a majority of the cabinet act, or the vice president and a majority of our new body act, still the president can say, no, everything's fine, and would need to be overruled by a 2/3 vote of the House and the Senate. So it's not a perfect arrangement for our situation if people are going to act with their partisan blinders on. But the new body at least would interpose some objectivity. It would be composed of doctors, psychiatrists, cognitive scientists, but also veterans of the executive branch of government, former presidents, vice presidents, attorneys general, secretaries of defense, treasury, surgeon generals, and so on. So it calls for those people to be able to meet in the event of a real crisis. It's serious business. This is not just for Donald Trump. This is a permanent standing body that should have been set up long ago, so we can rectify that oversight and also deal with a very serious crisis as people are flipping out all over the country, as you know, about Trump, pretending to be Jesus Christ in his little online renderings, attacking the Pope, going to war without any congressional consent or authorization, engaging in crazed fulminations, profanity, and so on. So people are upset about it, and we need to deal with the problem.
As I mentioned, as you know, Jamie Raskin, of course, is the ranking member on the House Judiciary Committee. You should know that this bill is already backed by 50 Democratic co-sponsors. So Jamie ain't out there by himself. 50 Democratic co-sponsors to establish this 17-member panel authorized under Section 4 of the 25th Amendment. Supporters argue that the move is driven by national security concerns. Underline that phrase, national security concerns, following Trump's recent social media post, as you heard Jamie Raskin talk about in that clip. I quote from Raskin one more again, "We are at a dangerous precipice. It is now a matter of national security for Congress to fulfill its responsibilities under the 25th Amendment to protect the American people from an increasingly volatile and unstable situation." So that's the rationale. National security. Donald Trump does have the codes and everything else. Obviously, he's running roughshod over Congress, engaging in war without asking for congressional approval vis-a-vis the constitutional mandate. So that's the move Democrats have made. They are now, again, trying to invoke under Section 4 of the 25th Amendment this clause allowing them to establish a commission to determine whether or not Donald Trump is fit to remain in office. What do you make of that as a strategy at a moment such as this? We will let Arwa respond to that and a great deal more on my list of things to talk about this hour. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
BET and PBS, the Tom Joyner Morning Show, and NPR, the cover of Jet and the cover of Time. #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list, 20 honorary doctorate degrees, a dozen NAACP Image Awards, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. From talk shows to talk radio, nobody's ever done it better. You like that? This is Tavis Smiley.
Can we just talk?
Tavis Smiley.
You've heard me say it before, how we talk to one another matters. Earlier this year, we launched our first cohort, and I'm grateful to those who leaned in early and helped to shape the work. Now I'm inviting you to join me for a new live seminar, The Practice of Dialogue, Becoming a More Effective Communicator. This is a small group experience designed to help you strengthen how you communicate in your work, your relationships, and your everyday life. Space is limited to keep the experience personal and interactive. So if you're ready to take your communication to the next level, now is the time to focus on the skills that make conversations meaningful. The new 4-week cohort begins Monday, May 4th, and there's a nice discount for early bird registrants. Visit TavishTalks.com to learn more and reserve your place today. That's TavishTalks.com, because better conversations don't just happen, we practice them.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
Just a little heads up before something bad happens.
Move your coffee cup away from your computer.
Oh, no.
So you can have more control.
Stop. You're texting your boss by mistake.
Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Warning. The cap is loose on that ketchup.
Ugh. Don't wait. You have the power to change the outcome. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
58 years ago, a bullet tried to silence a dream. It couldn't. On April 4th, 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was taken from us. Not because he failed, but because he was winning. Winning the fight for a nation determined to live up to its promise. That fight didn't end then, and it can't end now. California is the most powerful state and the most powerful country on earth. But right now, too many people are being left behind, priced out of their homes, locked out of opportunity, told to wait for justice that's already long overdue. Dr. King didn't wait. He taught us the fierce urgency of now and acted. Now it's up to us to carry that same urgency today. We need leaders who will fight the triple evils of poverty, racism, and militarism. Not someday, now. On this anniversary, let's honor Dr. King the only way that truly counts, by doing the work. Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
He does indeed with Arwa Mahdawi, columnist for The Guardian. All right, Arwa, thank you for your patience. Had to set that up, and I want to get that Jamie Raskin clip in there. So a couple of broad questions. We'll narrow as we move through the hour. What do you make of the idea? What do you make of the move that Democrats have made?
Look, it's definitely a long shot, this bill, but I think the fact that pushing the 25th Amendment to the fore of headlines, getting people to talk about how Trump is clearly unhinged, getting Republicans to try and defend his actions, I think it's a smart move from the Democrats, because, I mean, you can't make this up. I mean, who would have thought a decade ago we'd be talking about the President of the United States having a war of words with the Pope, posting himself as Jesus, getting into an illegal and immoral war that has the impact to drag the entire global economy down. I mean, something clearly has to be done. And I think what's so interesting to me is that there are still people out there who will justify Trump and say that he's acting, that all of these erratic decisions are somehow an example of him acting as a sort of genius, that they're all the art of the deal. You've probably heard of the madman, doctrine, and you'll see people say, "Oh, this is the madman doctrine in action." He's just unsettling his enemies. No, I mean, this is not the madman doctrine. This is just a madman. So, I mean, I think it is, again, while this bill is likely going nowhere, I think we just need to keep the pressure on and keep talking about how Trump is clearly not fit to be president. And as someone in the media, and yourself, I think that the media bears quite a bit of responsibility for allowing things to get this far, because throughout the years, I think there's been quite a lot of sane washing with Trump, where people will sort of edit his quotes to make them seem a little bit more sane. Or they'll sort of try to justify what he's saying, versus just like putting the whole unhinged ramblings in the paper and kind of letting people see that Trump clearly isn't even capable of articulating a clear thought, let alone running the most powerful country in the world.
Yeah. Let me stick at this point. You said a few things I want to go back to. Let me start with this point about media complicity. This audience knows, because they've heard me say it more times than I can count.
Mhm.
I've been on this for years now. Not just, I'm not a Johnny come lately on this issue. I've been critiquing not just the mainstream media. I call it the corporate media. I've been critiquing the
Mhm.
corporate media for years now about the way it has for the bottom line, for clickbait and for subscriptions and for eyeballs and for ears. The mainstream media has played with this Donald Trump story for years. That's how Donald Trump became president. If you go back years ago and you look at, there have been studies done about this. Look at the free airtime that Donald
Mhm.
Trump received versus, say, somebody like Bernie Sanders. There's no comparison. And so the
Mhm.
media just bent over backwards because Trump was titillating and interesting and funny and gave them ratings, as I said, and clickbait, all of the stuff that I said a moment ago that I don't need to repeat. So the media has been complicit in the building of Donald Trump. I've said many, many times, we've all heard this phrase, the media builds you up and they tear you down. They build you up
Mhm.
and they tear you down. Everybody in our business has heard that phrase. And I'm like, no, 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 not so fast. The conjunction is wrong. Get your conjunction right. The media doesn't build you up and tear you down. The media builds you up to tear you down. Why do I say that? Because they make money coming and going. They're making money when they're building you up, and they're making money when they're tearing you down. So they build you up to tear you down. It ain't just something that, it ain't happenstance. They just happen to tear you down. No, they build you up to tear you down. And again, they're getting rich coming and going. Here's why I come back to that, the point you made about media complicity. Because it seems to me that even in this moment, if one were to do a comparative analysis, I ain't got the time to do it, but somebody ought to do this. I would love to see somebody, Arwa, do a study right now about the amount of time the media, the so-called liberal media, spent on talking about Joe Biden's mental acuity versus the amount of time they're spending or not spending, as it were, on Trump. I don't know what the numbers would tell us, but I can feel this because I sit in this chair every day. To your point, we're both in the media. Do you have any reason to believe that the media is spending as much time right now on Trump's mental acuity as they did on Joe Biden's?
Well, it depends which areas of the media. I think certainly there's been a lot of discussion about it in The Guardian, but I
Yeah,
mean, again, The
the
Guardian,
Guardian, yeah.
The Guardian, because we're not an American paper, I think we can critique things in the United States in a way perhaps that the media in the US sometimes can't. But yeah, I mean, but even with Biden, I would push back on that, and I would say there was perhaps not enough discussion of his mental acuity in some instances because he, I mean, obviously he's better than Trump, but he did lead us to this path by not stepping down after his first time like he said he would,
Yeah.
and by clearly being unfit to lead. So, I mean, I think, I think we can certainly criticize the media for not covering Trump's mental acuity, but I think it was certainly valid to cover Biden's
No,
mental
and I'm not
acuity.
suggesting it wasn't valid. I mean,
Mhm.
you're now on the same page here. We're not disagreeing. I'm
Mhm.
not suggesting it wasn't a valid storyline. I'm just suggesting if somebody were to do a study about the amount of time the media spent on
Mhm.
Biden versus Trump, there's no comparison. And so that what's happening now is that we're talking about this story because Democrats are pushing this story, to your point, by advancing this idea about this 17-member commission using this section of the 25th Amendment to determine whether or not Donald Trump is fit for office. But this is not a story being driven by the media. The media didn't need any help. They needed no help in writing this story. I mean, look at Jake Tapper and the so-called liberals who wrote books. I mean, people were writing books about this, and these are folk on the left. And so again, I'm done with that. I'll move on. But I'm certain I'm right about this. There is no comparison between the way the corporate media, the mainstream media, the left, so-called left media, leaned in on the Biden story as compared to Trump. And I'm suggesting to you that Trump is now becoming more and more unhinged every day, but the media is not running this as a lead story day in and day out. How do I know? Because I watch the same news you watch. It just ain't happening. Now, back to the other point you made, though, about the if I can say it, the strategic value of this. It does seem to me that if Democrats keep laying on this issue that they are at the moment, there is a way in which I can see this putting the GOP on their heels and making them defend Donald Trump. And for that matter, I can see a way that this gets under Donald Trump's skin. So strategically, I'm with you, Alba.
Mhm.
Maybe it ain't the worst idea.
Oh yeah, I think this will really upset Donald Trump and cause him to be perhaps even more erratic than he already is. But again, going back to that double standards, it's interesting because Trump has kind of done this genius thing where he's got people to hold him to a completely different standard
That's
than
right.
anyone
That's
else.
right.
He was elected because he spoke differently, because he was, completely like off the cuff people, he didn't seem presidential in the normal normal sense. And so, again, I think that is why so many people still to this day rationalize his actions as some sort of genius move versus just, again, a madman. So, yeah, I mean, you have to hand it to him. He's managed to basically get the media eating out of his hands
Yep.
in that way.
What concerns me about this move by the Democrats, so again, strategically, I can see what they're doing. Let me flip the frame now, Arwa, if I can. Strategically, what does concern me about this is this can potentially send us down a slippery slope. You heard Jamie Raskin in that clip trying to explain it and trying to justify it and saying it's not just about Trump. I hear Jamie's point, but I'm telling you the way that politics are played in this particular country, as you well know, means that every time there's a Democratic president, Republicans are going to do the same thing, and we're going to slide down this rabbit hole of every president saying or doing something that the other side doesn't agree with, being accused of being crazed, and now it's time for this commission to go back to work for another cognitive test to see if he or she at some point are fit to serve. I can see the way this becomes a dangerous tool.
Well, absolutely. There could certainly be like the tit for tat. But I mean, I would hope that in the future we're not going to have a president posting images of himself as Jesus and getting into a war of words with the Pope. So I mean, but as you said, the Republicans are very good at strategizing revenge, coming up with these time-wasting exercises,
Right.
and I can certainly see them using this against them. But again, I think that like that isn't thinking. We need to think about what can we do now to try to stop something, try to stop 3 more years of Trump leading, the US and the world into ruin. And so I would still kind of veer on the side of this is strategically a good idea.
I saw the piece you wrote, and I want to come to it in a second here. I saw the piece that you wrote for The Guardian, speaking of The Guardian. A headline was, Trump needs to go. If we can't use the 25th Amendment, I have another idea. I'll let her give you that other idea in just a second. That was her headline, that Trump needs to go. If we can't use the 25th Amendment, I have another idea. Democrats are trying to use, at the moment, the 25th Amendment. We'll see how far they get with this. It is, in fact, a long shot. But 2 things come to mind. While it's going to be difficult to do, if not impossible, the fact that this bill does have dozens of Democratic co-sponsors. The fact that there are like almost 100 Senate, House, and Democrats asking for Trump to be impeached or removed or are behind this play to use the 25th Amendment is a long. I mean, I can't imagine, or I couldn't have imagined, just a few months ago, that Democrats would find this kind of spine. I mean, the protests have really been coming from the people. These No Kings protests and beyond. Democrats still ain't figured out what they intend to do or what they ought to be doing as a party. As an infrastructure, they're still out in the desert. They're still out in the forest and the wilderness. They're still lost, as far as I'm concerned. But the fact that there are more and more Democratic members who are willing to put their name on a bill that's raising questions about Trump's mental acuity, about his being fit to serve, that in and of itself is significant progress for this party, Arwa, as I read it. You disagree?
Well, yeah, I do think probably a lot of them have decided that this is a good fundraising move for them. I mean, we talked about Trump being, built up for the media. In some ways, he was also built up by the Democratic Party because at the very beginning, in 2016, you remember like Hillary thought that he would be very, very easy to beat. And so they sort of built up Trump because they thought he would be easy to beat. And now, even now, the Democrats, they sort of position themselves as being against Trump versus for anything in particular. And I think they've been fundraising quite well off of like we're anti-Trump in some ways. So I do see, I envisage a future where we're all going to get 100 fundraising emails from Democrats saying,
no,
please help us fund the 25th Amendment bill.
My two the 2 words I hate most these days. I over the last 8 years, I guess, I'm so tired of reading the words on my phone. Chip in. Can you chip in? Can you chip in? Can you chip in? Everybody's like adopted that phrase. Can you chip in $5? No, I ain't chipping nothing else in. Stop asking me to chip in. But that's become the phrase of fundraisers. Everybody wants you to chip in something. I'm sick of it. Anyway, the other thing that you said that I want to come back to you right quick. We got the rest of the hour to do this, but in the 3 minutes I have now, let me come back to something else you said that jumped out at me. I think about this all the time. It's a nightmare for me, frankly. When you said a moment ago, Arwa, that I hope that in the future we're not going to have presidents depicting themselves as Jesus in social media posts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not so sure about that. I wonder whether or not Donald Trump has pushed the envelope so far off the table, out the door, down the hallway, out the building, down the street, out the city, out the state, out the country. He's pushed this envelope so far that I'm not sure it's a foregone conclusion that we can expect future presidents to behave, as it were. Now, Donald Trump is an outlier at the moment, but I'm not so sure that we're not going to see future presidents who are going to push the envelope a little bit further because Donald Trump got away with it, particularly given that the Supreme Court gave them immunity.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, as you say, it's because if he gets away with it, it does sort of pave the way for this sort of behavior.
Yeah. So I hear your comment is more hopeful and more aspirational than what we might really be dealing with.
I mean, you've got to have some hope, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it is even with Gavin Newsom, you see him sort of like trolling Trump now, and the sort of behavior that you'd sort of just not think of as presidential in the past is now the sort of behavior that gets you clicks, that gets you attention, that gets podcasters talking about you, gets your name in the forefront. So, I mean, the digital economy, the attention economy has really sort of, you're right, it has encouraged this sort of attention-seeking behavior because people get rewarded for it.
Yeah, and that's my fear. My fear is that in the future, that we're going to see, if not another Donald Trump. I've said many times, there's no president who has ever in the history of this republic returned power. Once the executive branch pulls that power to its side of the ledger, its side of the aisle, it holds on to it. And so Donald Trump has seized so much more power for the executive branch. The next president and the president after that, they ain't giving it back. And again, he's pushed the envelope so far out off the table and out the door. I don't know the future presidents are going to be as well behaved as prior presidents. However one defines that, I don't think they're going to be as well behaved as prior presidents. That's just me. When we come forward, though, I'm going to let Arwa tell you what she meant when she said that if we can't use the 25th Amendment, she has another idea when we come forward here. I'll let her tell you what her idea is, number one. And then she has some thoughts. I've seen her writing about Kamala Harris. She thinks that Kamala Harris running again is a very, very bad idea. But here's what Kamala Harris said a couple of days ago.
So are you going to run again in 28?
Listen, I might. I'm thinking about it. I know what the job is. And I know what it requires. Look, the American people have a right to expect that anyone who wants to run for office and be a leader, that it can't be about themselves. And what they want for themselves, it's got to be about the American people.
What does Arwa Mahdawi think about Kamala Harris suggesting that she might run again, and what is her idea to get Trump out of the Oval Office if we can't use the 25th Amendment? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Vice President J.D. Vance is criticizing Pope Leo, saying the pontiff should be careful when speaking on theology.
I like that the Pope is an advocate for peace. I think that's certainly one of his roles. On the other hand, how can you say that God is never on the side of those who wield the sword?
The remarks follow criticism from President Trump after the Pope condemned violence and warfare. A black 88-year-old Chicago woman reported missing has been found dead. Police charged Danius Graves' son, 66-year-old Kevin Works, with first-degree murder after her body was discovered in a Roseland basement on the city's south side. And the Dallas Wings selected UConn star Azzi Fudd, number 1 in the WNBA draft, reuniting her with former teammate Paige Buchers. Fudd headlines a first round loaded with top collegiate talent. The preseason tip-off is on April 25th. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Recall 67A mobile appointments are now available in your area. We come to you quick, easy, and under an hour. Complete the recall to get $500 plus a warranty worth thousands. Schedule today at CumminsRecall.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It's a must-win game for the Clippers tonight at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. They need to beat Golden State in a play-in round game, otherwise their season is over. Both teams have to win 2 games to earn the 8th and final seed in the Western Conference playoffs. The winner tonight plays at Phoenix Friday night. Hip-hop star J. Cole Cole gave up his roster spot on a pro basketball team in China after one game. The two-time Grammy winner had signed a contract to play at least 3 games with the Nanjing Kings in the Chinese Basketball Association. Cole, who played high school ball in North Carolina, had to leave the team because he could not get an extension on his visa to play all 3 games. The first HBCU football game in the Bahamas is scheduled for November 7th this year. Morehouse and Kentucky State will meet up in the premiere of the HBCU Bahamas Classic in Nassau. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Break out the champagne. Everybody get a glass.
You know, 5 years goes fast when you're doing something you love. 5 years of being right there with you, in your car, in your kitchen, at work, in your earbuds. And we don't take that for granted, not for a second. When it came time to celebrate our 5th anniversary, we knew it had to mean something. And we're celebrating on the most fitting day there is, Juneteenth. We're still putting the finishing touches on something really special, and before we tell the world, we want to tell you first. Once we announce this event publicly, we expect that seats are going to go fast, really fast. So, go to our website right now at KBLA1580.com and sign up to make sure you're the very first to hear what we've got planned. Before we go public with all the details, you've been riding with us. It's only right you're first to know. KBLA1580.com. We'll see you on Juneteenth for our 5th anniversary banger. Banger, banger, banger. More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Arwa Mahdawi, who's columnist for The Guardian. Honored to have her on this program in the first hour to kick us off today. In case you've just tuned in, we started the hour talking about the big news in Washington. The Democrats have introduced a bill to take advantage of Section 4 of the 25th Amendment, which allows them to attempt to establish a 17-member commission to help determine whether or not Donald Trump is fit to remain in office. It's being pushed by Jamie Raskin, but the bill has dozens of Democratic co-sponsors. As I said earlier in this conversation, the fact that Democrats are finding a spine and signing on to a measure like this shows you, on the one hand, the exasperation that Democrats have with Donald Trump. It also shows the desperation that Democrats have with Donald Trump, but it also shows the inspiration that they are receiving from everyday people who are encouraging them to do something about this madman in the Oval Office. And so they are trying to use this opportunity to raise this issue of Trump's mental acuity and whether or not he is fit to remain in office. At the very least, it will get under Donald Trump's skin. As I said earlier, it puts, as Arwa said, Republicans on their heels, and Donald Trump to have to defend his being fit to serve in office. And so, that's where we are. Democrats are trying to use whatever levers they can to try to raise the issue that Donald Trump has just gone a little too far of late, and I don't think there's anybody that doesn't agree that. Well, I shouldn't say anybody. Many of us believe that he, in fact, is becoming more and more unhinged every single day of the week, and so that's the big news today, and we've been talking about that for a good part of this hour. To that end, Arwa wrote a piece for The Guardian, a headline: "Trump needs to go. If we can't use the 25th Amendment, I have another idea." And that idea, Arwa, is what exactly?
Hello, I don't want to get anyone's hopes up, and I'm not going to say out loud what I'm sure a lot of people are thinking about that other idea. Yeah. But I think so. First of all, I think we've seen that impeachment, 25th Amendment. There's the checks and balances that are supposed to stop this happening are not stopping this from happening. So I do think we have to be a little creative. And I said this in jest, but you know what? I think there's something there. I said, let's just create let's get Trump, who loves AI, who loves technology, who loves making history, the greatest ever. Why don't we get him to make an AI Trump? There's an AI Mark Zuckerberg they just created a few days ago so that he can talk to Meta employees. We tell Trump, why don't you become the best ever president in the world, history making, by creating an AI Trump, and then we let him go play golf, and we have this AI Trump take care of things, and hopefully we can just turn him off.
Yeah.
And again, this is a joke, but I do think there is something there that if the usual checks and balances don't work, how can we think creatively about this, and how can we cater to Trump's ego to try to maybe get him to sort of work in a more positive manner, because as we all know, he responds to his ego being buttered up, and whoever's basically buttering up his ego or giving him money is sort of, he'll do whatever they want. He's not an ideologue. I think that one thing that worries me about someone like JD Vance, because if this 25th Amendment did pass, JD Vance would become president, and he's not as erratic as Trump, but he is backed by a lot of people with some, very fervent views. JD Vance has a political career because of Peter Thiel, who has some very disturbing views about democracy. So he's not necessarily any better. He's just a little better behaved. But again, it's like, how do we think creatively about this? Is there a way to, is there another way to get Trump to act less erratically?
Yep. I say this, Arwa, not to cast aspersion on your frame and your comment just now that Trump is not an ideologue, but I raise it because that's a line that I found myself using repeatedly, and I'm just being honest. I have stopped using that line. Let me tell you why. I used that line with regard to Mike Pence during the first term. I kept saying, Trump is Trump, and Trump has issues, but Trump is not an ideologue in the way that Mike Pence is. I said that a lot during Trump 1.0. And it is true what you say, that Trump is not an ideologue, certainly not in the way that J.D. Vance has become. At one point, if you know the backstory, J.D. Vance wasn't an ideologue either. J.D. Vance has become, I think, more of an ideologue, and we ain't got time to unpack why and how that happened. But I think you're right that Trump is not an ideologue the way that Mike Pence was in 1.0, and Trump is not an ideologue the way that J.D. Vance is in 2.0. You're right about that. But here's why I've stopped saying that. Because it suggests that somehow we think that having an ideologue would be a conservative ideologue would be worse than what we're getting now. And that's my problem. I am not so sure that an ideologue would be much worse than what we're getting with Trump right now. So to say, well, Trump's not an ideologue, again, makes me feel like we'd be better off with an ideologue, and I'm not so sure that things could be much worse than what they are right now without an ideologue. We have an idiot. He might not be an ideologue, but he's an idiot, and I'm not so sure that an ideologue is better than an idiot.
Well, I mean, yes, Trump is an avatar for several ideologues. I mean, plenty of what he's done you can just trace back to donations. So, is there a difference between someone who acts for ideologues and someone who's an ideologue themselves?
Yeah.
Perhaps there isn't.
Yeah, that's my point. That I hear, and I know what folk mean when they say, but at least Trump is an ideologue. Okay, but what's the takeaway from that? I mean, should I be grateful that we're getting what we're getting now because it wouldn't be as bad? I mean, it'd be worse rather under Vance. I can't imagine. Let me just put it this way. I can't imagine right now. I could be wrong, and I hope I don't live to see the day where I am wrong about this. But I can't imagine, and I'm going to ask you, here's my sense, and I'll ask you a question. I can't imagine that the ideologue J.D. Vance as president would bring us anything worse than what we're getting right now. Can you? Could it be worse than this under J.D. Vance?
What worries me is that it might be worse in a slightly less obvious way, that things wouldn't be so in your face all the time, but a lot of harm would be happening, under the surface more. It would be, we'd still be having a war in Iran, but perhaps it would be, presented in a different manner. So I do think it can get worse than this. I think that every year I think to myself, when I write a roundup of the year, surely next year will be better, and then every year it is worse.
Yeah. No, I hear your point. I didn't even want to. I shudder to think about how much worse J.D. Vance would be than Donald Trump right now because he's an ideologue. I just can't imagine that in terms of ego and in terms of just being unhinged, that things could be much worse than they are right now. But again, I hear your point. I've lived long enough to know that things can always be worse. So I'm not counting my own argument. I'm just suggesting this notion of ideologue versus idiot is a debate that I'm not so sure really takes us anywhere. Speaking of J.D. Vance, I said yesterday, has been humiliated and embarrassed and continues to humiliate and embarrass himself every single day. J.D. Vance is himself a Catholic. But listen to the way that J.D. Vance is running the play for Donald Trump on the Pope.
I have a lot of respect for the Pope. I like him. I admire him. I've gotten to know him a little bit. It doesn't bother me when he speaks on issues of the day, frankly, even when I disagree with how he's applying a particular principle. I like that the Pope is an advocate for peace. I think that's certainly one of his roles. On the other hand, how can you say that God is never on the side of those who wield the sword? Was God on the side of the Americans who liberated France from the Nazis? Was God on the side of the Americans who liberated Holocaust camps and liberated those innocent people from, those who had survived the Holocaust? But I think that it's important, in the same way that it's important for the Vice President of the United States to be careful when I talk about matters of public policy, I think it's very, very important for the Pope to be careful when he talks about matters of theology.
First of all, that's the Pope's job, is to talk about matters of theology. Speaking of idiots, that is the Pope's job to talk about matters of theology, number one. And, Mr. Vice President, you are not careful when you talk about public policy. That's the problem. You're not careful at all when you're talking about public policy. I digress. We'll let Arwa Mahdawi respond to that clip when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
And we're live here outside the Perez family home, just waiting for and there they go, almost on time this morning. Mom is coming out the front door strong with a double-arm kid carry. Looks like Dad has the bags. Daughter is bringing up the rear. Oh, but the diaper bag wasn't closed. Diapers and toys are everywhere. Ooh, but Mom has just nailed the perfect car seat buckle for the toddler. And now the eldest daughter, who looks to be about 9 or 10, has secured herself in the booster seat. Dad zips the bag closed, and they're off. But looks like Mom doesn't realize her coffee cup is still on the roof of the car. And there it goes. Oh, that's a shame. That mug was a fan favorite.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Learn more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Visit nhtsa.gov/the
right seat. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, host of The Voice of Reason, weeknights at 7 p.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580, with a personal invitation for you to join me and Insight.me as we present The Healing Box, live at Inglewood's world-famous Miracle Theater, Saturday evening, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Look, I understand your attachment style has been running your life like a rogue algorithm, and nobody has had the courage to press pause. Until now, Dr. Bakoya McCall and yours truly are curating a night where clinicians, spiritualists, and an all-star panel of Black woman healers like Dr. Shalonda Sunshine Crawford, Dr. Jashana Johnson, and spiritualist Precious McGill will join some amazing spoken word artists and the legendary comedian Louis Dix to diagnose, disrupt, and heal your relational wreckage in real time. Listen, bring your trauma. As a matter of fact, bring your baby mama. No, bring your testimony. And if you're still texting your ex at 2 a.m., baby, you're not just invited, you're the target demo. Tickets are moving fast, so grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before your dating history gets flagged as a pre-existing condition. That's themiracleinglewood.com. We'll see you there Saturday, May 23rd at 7 p.m.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Arwa Mahdawi, who's columnist for The Guardian. So, Arwa, what do you make of the way? You heard my opinion, but that doesn't matter. This is your conversation. What do you make of the way that J.D. Vance, a Catholic himself, is shilling for Donald Trump on this fight between the president and the Pope?
Well, first of all, whenever I hear J.D. Vance speak, it kind of reassures me in some ways because he sounds so whiny and off-putting that I just genuinely can't see him, succeeding Trump, who does, despite everything, have some charisma. Mm-hmm. But as, kind of going back to what we were talking about, ideologues, I mean, J.D. Vance is a very new Catholic. He became a Catholic at a time that was very convenient for his political career because being an atheist, as he was in the past, is not very helpful if you're trying to be in public office. So, he converted at a very convenient time, just as he's changed his name multiple times. I mean, he does shapeshift to whatever seems to get him most power at the moment. And I guess he thought, okay, siding with Trump right now is what's going to get me most power at the moment. So, I guess it goes again to, is Vance really an ideologue, or does he just do whatever he thinks is most useful at the time for his funders and the people who can help him get ahead?
Yeah. What's your read of last question here on the Pope, and then we'll spend our remaining moments talking about Kamala Harris and your views about her suggestion that she's thinking about running for office again in 2028, not just office, but for the presidency. What's your view of the damage, if there is any damage, that is to be done to Republicans or Donald Trump by even getting in this fight with the Pope in the first place? Is there a price he's going to pay? I was looking at some data last night. Catholics overwhelmingly supported Donald Trump in this last race. I don't know that it was wise to go after the leader of the Catholic Church, but is there going to be any fallout politically for him or more expressive of Republicans in this election year?
Well, I mean, I hope so. The Catholics, again, they voted for Trump between 10 to 20 points over Biden this year, but they sort of largely sided with Biden last year, and they're the largest, in terms of a religious group, the largest group of swing voters. So, yeah, annoying them is not a good is not a good look. And we know that Trump, Teflon Don, he's managed to get religious people to back him, even though he has multiple children with multiple wives, affairs with the adult performer, accused of sexual misconduct. A lot of people can justify things because with the end often being, outlawing abortion justifies the means. But picking up a fight with the Pope, we've already seen Trump's popularity ratings with Catholics go down over the Iran war, and I think this will damage them further. Of course, Trump is not going to be running for re-election again unless he makes good on his threat to run for a third term. But it will, I think, hurt him in the midterms, and I think it will cause an issue for J.D. Vance for 2028.
Yeah. I think that for Catholics, if J.D. Vance does in fact run, he has to explain, he'll have to explain then all this pushback against the Pope now. He'll have to explain then, and won't that be fun? Our remaining moments with Arwa Mahdawi when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The midterm elections are upon us. It is voting season once again. Common Cause's motto is fighting for the democracy we deserve. In service of that goal, Common Cause puts its state and national policy expertise, massive network of grassroots supporters, and nonpartisan approach into action to strengthen our democracy against the challenges we face today. They work at every level of government on priorities that impact each of our lives, like defending the right to vote, limiting big money's influence on our elections, holding public officials accountable, and more. Common Cause is a nonpartisan grassroots organization dedicated to upholding the core values of American democracy. They seek to empower all people to make their voices heard in the political process. This election may be the most important one ever. If you'd like to make a donation or volunteer in service to the Constitution, please visit commoncause.org. That's commoncause.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Real talent is defined by what people can do, not where they learn to do it. So by stopping at the education section of a resume, you might throw away the perfect hire. You might miss someone who has valuable skills to offer to help your business thrive right now and in the future. Because the truth is this: Skills First Hiring helps you see talent others miss, like more than 70 million stars, skilled through alternative routes. When you let their story unfold, you gain a competitive advantage, because hiring managers who start with skills are 60% more likely to find a successful hire. See the real person, complete. See what others miss. Hire skills first. Learn why it's a competitive advantage at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. Made fresh daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
So are you going to run again in 28?
Listen, I might. I'm thinking about it. I know what the job is. And I know what it requires. Look, the American people have a right to expect that anyone who wants to run for office and be a leader, that it can't be about themselves. and what they want for themselves. It's got to be about the American people.
That's former Vice President Kamala Harris at Al Sharpton's National Action Network gathering a few days ago, answering his question about whether or not she's thinking about running for president again in 2028. Arwa Mahdawi has written about that for The Guardian and about this prospect, this possibility, this potentiality. Arwa, you say what?
As Kamala Harris said, it's not about one person's career. It's about the American people, what's best for America, trying to put someone forward who is going to be popular, has popular policies, and has a chance of beating whoever comes after Trump. And that person is not Kamala Harris. I gave Kamala Harris the benefit of the doubt when Joe Biden put her in a very, very bad position in 2024. At the beginning, she ran a pretty, energetic, high energy campaign, but it just sort of fizzled out, because the issue with Harris, and the reason why she's never won a primary for president, and the reason why she won't, is because she fundamentally doesn't seem to know what she believes. She surrounds herself by people who give her bad advice. She takes that advice. She doesn't seem to ever be her authentic self when it comes to policy. And I urge anyone who disagrees with this to read 107 Days, her book about the election, and see if you genuinely think that Kamala Harris stands for anything. Because after reading that book, I have nothing really positive to say about Harris anymore.
After the votes that she racked up, and we've discussed it many times on this program, if there were a number of precincts that had shifted in just 2 or 3 of those swing states, Harris would be president and Trump wasn't. You can look at that map and see all of that red and think she got slaughtered. She really didn't when you break the numbers down. A few shifts here or there in some key precincts in those swing states, this election would have turned out differently. So whatever one thinks of her, she racked up a lot of votes. Does that not alone put her in position to at least suggest that she's thinking about running again, given that she got a lot of votes?
Were those votes really for her, or were they a vote against Trump?
Yeah.
Because I would say it's the latter. What she didn't manage to do was get a lot of people to come out and vote. And we know the reasons why, even though the DNC tried to bury the autopsy report. We know that Gaza was a very big reason for this.
That's right.
And I know that there are a lot of, I'm Palestinian British. I know there are a lot of Americans who seem to think that Gaza is a fringe issue, or that we shouldn't have purity tests, etc. But many very highly regarded human rights organizations have called Gaza a genocide, not just a genocide, but one that has really sort of undermined international law and going forward. As I think that if you, and I'm going to quote Ta-Nehisi quotes here, because he said, if you cannot draw the line at genocide, you cannot draw the line at democracy.
No.
I think that if you say it's okay to exterminate one group of people, forget about that. Just focus on gas prices. You are not a politician that I can stand behind, because who's the disposable group next?
Nope. I hear your point. I hear your point loud and clear. I'm out of time. I had to do this, Arwa, but I hear the point. You made it very clearly. I don't understand Ta-Nehisi. Ta-Nehisi's right about that, but look at his backstory. It took him a while to get there. Ta-Nehisi was late getting there himself on that issue, but I digress. Arwa Mahdawi is a columnist for The Guardian. Arwa, thanks for your insights. Good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. More Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Vice President J.D. Vance is criticizing Pope Leo, saying the pontiff should be careful when speaking on theology.
I like that the Pope is an advocate for peace. I think that's certainly one of his roles. On the other hand, how can you say that God is never on the side of those who wield the sword?
The remarks follow criticism from President Trump after the Pope condemned violence and warfare. A Black 88-year-old Chicago woman reported missing has been found dead. Police charged Danius Graves' son, 66-year-old Kevin Works, with first-degree murder after her body was discovered in a Roseland basement on the city's south side. And the Dallas Wings selected UConn star Azzi Fudd, #1 in the WNBA draft, reuniting her with former teammate Paige Buchers. Fudd headlines a first round loaded with top collegiate talent. The preseason tip-off is on April 25th. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Recall 67A mobile appointments are now available in your area. We come to you quick, easy, and under an hour. Complete the recall to get $500 plus a warranty worth thousands. Schedule today at CummonsRecall.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It's a must-win game for the Clippers tonight at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. They need to beat Golden State in a play-in round game, otherwise their season is over. Both teams have to win 2 games to earn the 8th and final seed in the Western Conference playoffs. The winner tonight plays at Phoenix Friday night. Hip-hop star J. Cole gave up his roster spot on a pro basketball team in China after 1 game. The 2-time Grammy winner had signed a contract to play at least 3 games with the Nanjing Kings in the Chinese Basketball Association. Cole, who played high school ball in North Carolina, had to leave the team because he could not get an extension on his visa to play all 3 games. The first HBCU football game in the Bahamas is scheduled for November 7th this year. Morehouse and Kentucky State will meet up in the premiere of the HBCU Bahamas Classic in Nassau. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
And the revolution!
10 years ago, the world lost a genius.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life.
Prince trusted few people. Tavis Smiley was one of them.
Good evening from Los Angeles. I'm Tavis Smiley. Tonight, a rare conversation with one of music's biggest superstars, Prince.
Prince opened up to Tavis in ways he rarely did with anyone else. Honest, unfiltered, and unforgettable. On Tuesday, April 21st, as we mark the 10th anniversary of his transition, experience 3 uninterrupted hours of Prince in his own words.
When people criticize my work and attack my personality, it doesn't help me. I can't do anything with it.
Don't just remember Prince, hear him.
We live in a place now that feels just about like a plantation. We're all indentured servants.
Tavis Smiley, Tuesday, April 21st, only on Tavis Smiley.
Child, things are gonna get easier. Ooh, child, things will get brighter. Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. Ooh, child, things will get brighter. Someday, yeah, we'll put it together and we'll get it undone. Someday, when your head is much lighter. Of a beautiful sun. Someday when the world is much brighter.
I'm Tavis Smiley. Glad you're with us in this second hour of today's program. We're off and running. Great conversation with Arwa Mahdawi from The Guardian in hour 1, and here we are in hour 2. And in this hour, 2 conversations. On the B side of this hour, Viktor Orban's defeat in Hungary dealt a real blow to MAGA's international ambitions, even as J.D. Vance traveled to Hungary to campaign for Orban. So here's the question. Is this the beginning of the end for these far-right dictators around the globe, or is it way too soon for that declaration? We'll talk to Matt Duss of the Center for International Policy on the back side of this hour. But as promised, we commenced this hour with this. We are inside of Black Maternal Health Week, and we'll talk with the renowned doctor, OBGYN, Dr. Donna Adams-Pickett, about the urgent need for awareness, advocacy, and action around maternal health disparities. Dr. Donna Adams-Pickett, good to have you on this program. How are you today?
Hi, Tavis. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure to have you. Let me just start with an obvious question, but I want to just take your temperature on this, and we'll go from there. What does it mean that in the United States of America, we have to have a Black Maternal Health Week to draw attention to these issues vis-a-vis Black women? How do I even read that we have to do this every year?
Well, what it reads is that we still have not recognized that Black women are not now just 3 times more likely to die during childbirth, but we're 4 times more likely to die. So even though we state the statistic yearly that there have been no real institutional changes in order to make this statistic obsolete.
And who do we indict for those no institutional changes that you just referenced?
We indict those, if there's an indictment to occur, those who still decrease the number of Black physicians attending medical school. We have only 8.4% out of all matriculants in medical school who are African American. We indict those who still banish DEI programs because we know that implicit bias, because people don't know what they don't know, still impacts care. So when we have providers that don't know anything about our communities and how we communicate and how we function, they make decisions based on their stereotypes because they don't know any better.
Yep. I know you started that list, and I know you could have gone longer, but you started that list with the number of Black students attending med school. So I again, of all the places you could have gone, you went there first. I ain't mad at you. And I think that's probably a good place to start because, let's face it, that's where it starts with Black folk attending medical school. I guess the question is, in that regard or on that particular issue, whether or not that's about us or about them. Is that an us problem, a Black folks problem, about us not going to med school? Or is that a them problem about them not letting us into med school?
It's definitely a them problem. They don't let us in. They place too much emphasis on the standardized testing and then providing the financial resources. Now professional school student loans are capped at $200,000. Well, that knocks out the majority of the medical school education in this country because we don't have generational wealth that can pay for medical school, allow us to not work while we're in medical school. It is affecting our numbers.
Yep. And the second thing on your list, as I recall, was the DEI issue. And this should not surprise any of us, but I sit in this chair every day, as you know, for 3 hours talking to the nation with great guests like yourself about all kinds of issues. And it never ceases to amaze me how one can connect the dots, Dr. Adams-Pickett, in so many ways about with regard to this anti-DEI push by this administration, this anti-Black agenda that they're running. But these dots can be so easily connected, and the frame is so much larger than one I think initially considers when you start looking at all the various things, all the various ways, the myriad ways in which the lives of everyday Black people have been impacted because of this anti-DEI effort on the part of this administration. Here you come now, even connecting the dot to Black physicians.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things that happens when we're looking at those statistics, many times people just assume that this is a socioeconomic issue. But even educated Black women with 4-year degrees and higher are still dying in childbirth 3 times more likely than other ethnicities. And a lot of it is because their caregivers assume that they don't know themselves, that they don't know their bodies, that they can't participate and collaborate in their care. So decisions are made about them in their care that result in death or near-death experiences during childbirth.
We'll talk about those assumptions that those caregivers make when we come forward with Dr. Donna Adams-Pickett on Tavis Smiley.
BET and PBS, the Tom Joyner Morning Show, and NPR, the cover of Jet and the cover of Time. #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list, 20 honorary doctorate degrees, a dozen NAACP Image Awards, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. From talk shows to talk radio, nobody's ever done it better. You like that? This is Tavis Smiley.
Can we just talk?
Tavis Smiley.
You've heard me say it before, how we talk to one another matters. Earlier this year, we launched our first cohort, and I'm grateful to those who leaned in early and helped to shape the work. Now I'm inviting you to join me for a new live seminar, The Practice of Dialogue, Becoming a More Effective Communicator. This is a small group experience designed to help you strengthen how you communicate in your work, your relationships, and your everyday life. Space is limited to keep the experience personal and interactive. So if you're ready to take your communication to the next level, now is the time to focus on the skills that make conversations meaningful. The new 4-week cohort begins Monday, May 4th, and there's a nice discount for early bird registrants. Visit TavishTalks.com to learn more and reserve your place today. That's TavishTalks.com, because better conversations don't just happen, we practice them.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
Just a little heads up before something bad happens.
Move your coffee cup away from your computer.
Oh, no.
So you can have more control.
Stop. You're texting your boss by mistake.
Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Warning. The cap is loose on that ketchup.
Ugh. Don't wait. You have the power to change the outcome. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
58 years ago, a bullet tried to silence a dream. It couldn't. On April 4th, 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was taken from us. Not because he failed, but because he was winning. Winning the fight for a nation determined to live up to its promise. That fight didn't end then, and it can't end now. California is the most powerful state and the most powerful country on earth. But right now, too many people are being left behind, priced out of their homes, locked out of opportunity, told to wait for justice that's already long overdue. Dr. King didn't wait. He taught us the fierce urgency of now and acted. Now it's up to us to carry that same urgency today. We need leaders who will fight the triple evils of poverty, racism, and militarism. Not someday, now. On this anniversary, let's honor Dr. King the only way that truly counts, by doing the work. Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Dr. Donna Adams-Pickett as we celebrate Black Maternal Health Week. And I say celebrate, maybe celebrate's the wrong word. Maybe it is. What is the right word? Celebrate. I don't want to say commemorate. Sounds too morbid. Celebrate, commemorate. What's the right word, Dr. Adams-Pickett?
Celebrate.
Yeah.
Celebrate.
Okay.
The theme for this year is rooted in justice and joy.
Okay.
That's the theme for this year. So childbirth should be a joyful experience. We want to get back to that.
We'll get back. Speaking of getting back to, we'll get back to the joyful experience in a second here. But that ain't where you left us moments ago. It was not. You were not making a joyful point. The point you were making was about the assumptions, the wrong-headed assumptions that these caregivers too often make. Pick up on that theme, please.
Yeah. So when we as a patient walk in and we say, hey, we know our family history. I know that my mother, my grandmother, my sisters, they've had this experience during pregnancy and childbirth. I need you to look at my pregnancy a little differently. Too often, those concerns are dismissed. It is the assumption, well, you don't know what you're talking about. I mean, yeah, that's what your mama and your grandmama told you, but they probably didn't know what they were talking about. Mm-hmm. And they really don't know how well we can communicate with each other in our communities. Our families will tell little sister and tell our daughters, hey, this happened to all of my sisters. I need you to make sure when you walk in that you tell your doctor this can be an issue for you.
Mm-hmm. What? I want to be careful in our phrases, because the flip side of physicians, caregivers, nurses, etc., making assumptions about Black women and their health, the flip side of that is Black women feeling empowered to say what needs to be said to these caregivers. Talk about that side of the equation if you can.
Well, this is when we as community stakeholders, this is time for us to put us in the game. Mm-hmm. This is when our Greek letter organizations, our organizations like the Links and the Boule, we need to be providing educational initiatives in our churches and our communities so that when our patients go in, they can say, hey, I attended a workshop about this. I received a pamphlet about this, and I know that this is something I should be asking or something that I should be able to advocate for. I don't know if you heard about the case of the young lady in Florida who was delivering. They brought a TV in and they had a judge on it.
Oh, yeah, I saw that story. Go ahead and talk about it. For those who didn't see it, I saw this story, and I was about to say I couldn't believe it. Nothing these days seems to surprise me. But I was completely just dumbfounded and frozen, frankly, watching this on my own computer screen. But for those who haven't seen this story online, she's about to tell you a story that's a true story. You can Google it and see it for yourself. But go on, Dr. Adams-Pickett, tell the story.
Yes, it was a young lady who wanted to advocate for a vaginal birth after having previous C-sections. Now, while I may have advised her to have a C-section, I would have been able to do it in a way that it would have been a collaboration. She was adamant that she wanted to attempt a vaginal delivery, which she has a right, and she has a right to say, hey, I'm willing to take the chances of what may happen to me. But instead of hearing her position that she knew what she was speaking of, they just circumvented having that conversation with her. And in the middle of the night, they pulled a judge in and had a judge on the screen before her to tell her that he was going to mandate that she have a C-section. What they weren't counting on was that she was very much able to articulate her concerns, her position as to why she still wanted to attempt a vaginal delivery, why she was willing to take whatever risks that were placed in front of her, and at least temporarily, but up until that moment, they were going to force her to have a surgery that she was not consenting to.
Yeah. You know what got me when I saw this, and you saw the same thing, and for those who have seen this video, you know what I'm talking about. For those who have not seen it, I encourage you just to Google it right now, whenever you can. Just Google the video of this Florida woman who literally got pulled into a court hearing. She's laying there, her belly sticking all up. She's laying there in the bed, fully pregnant, on this screen in a court hearing from her bed. About whether or not she had the right to insist on a vaginal birth versus a C-section, as Dr. Adams-Pickett just laid out. But what got me when I saw that video is that she's the only black face on this entire screen. All these folk, these lawyers, the judge, the hospital, all the folk in this hearing on this Zoom screen appear to be white. She's the only black speck on the screen. There had to be, I'm just guessing now, 8, 9, 10 faces, at least 8 faces, I think, were on that Zoom. At least 8 faces, that is, on this Zoom screen. Hers is the only black speck on this screen that I'm looking at. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. How is it that a black woman who has agency to decide what she wants to do with her own body ends up in a hearing and she's the only colored face on the screen, Dr. Adams-Pickett?
Yeah, I mean, and she's in a bed. She's actively laboring, and if any of you know anyone who's labored, I mean, your body is just on another plane. So she's actively laboring, and she has to advocate for herself. She doesn't even have the opportunity to obtain legal counsel. And when you couple that with the unfortunate case of Ariana Smith, the young lady in Georgia who was forced to carry a baby, even though she was legally declared brain dead, it shows you again that the will and the desires of the Black mother is not prioritized in our society.
Speaking of Georgia, before I go forward, tell me more about the Augusta Women's Health and Wellness Center in Georgia, your home base.
Yes, so this is my practice, Augusta Women's Health and Wellness Center. Well, we like to say we care for you mind, body, and soul. So when you come here, not only I'm going to take care of you, you're going to have a little bit of OBGYN University. You're going to leave here, you're going to learn something today. And so we want you to walk out of our office knowing a little more about your body so that you can share it within your community so that we can be more informed and have more agency amongst ourselves.
Mm-hmm. What you are known for at the Augusta Women's Health and Wellness Center is what you all call compassionate reproductive health care. You talked earlier about the need for collaboration in Black women's health. We'll get back to the collaboration piece in a second. But that other C word is compassionate. Talk to me about why there is, in fact, so much difficulty that women have to encounter when they're just looking for some compassionate reproductive health.
Black women are not seen as human. I think that our humanity is not considered. We're often considered just another body. And again, when I was speaking of Ariana Smith, she's just was just a shell to carry a body, not that this was a mother, a daughter, a sister. And so often women themselves and their concerns, their fears, their joys, their wants, and their desires are not considered in decision making. And what I like to have, at least in this practice, and I would love to have throughout the country, collaborative care, where every patient feels as if they had a role in the decision making when it came to their bodies.
Yeah. You laid on a stat earlier in this conversation, as I recall. The number was that Black women are over 3 times, almost 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes than white women in this country, even in 2026. That number is just untenable, unfathomable, unacceptable. But the data point that jumps out at me, though, that just it's hard to wrap your brain around, is that when you consider that Black women, again, are 3 or 4 more times likely to die from pregnancy-related causes than white women, 80%, more than 80% of these pregnancy-related deaths are considered preventable. Now, if that doesn't get you in the throat, I don't know what does. It's one thing to deal with that first stat. That's untenable. But the fact that more than 80% of these pregnancy-related deaths are actually considered preventable, see, that's a real problem for me, Dr. Adams-Pickett.
Yeah. That is huge. I mean, that tells me that with intention, we do not have to have this statistic, that these numbers could be obsolete, but there has not been any intention to walk into each year and say, I need to do better by Black women. We need to do better by Black women. We cannot look at this patient and say we are going to treat her exactly as we would the other patient in front of us. We just can't do that. And I know, from those who I don't see color, that's a problem for me. I need you to see her color. I need you to see that this pregnancy is going to require more care, more attention, more involvement than it would someone else's.
Yeah. If I had a dime for every time I've been in one of these national TV or national media, national platform debates with my good white friends about the progress that Black folk have made in this country and how we are so much better off than we used to be. We've all had those debates with our white friends. I've done this more times than most because of what I do for a living every day. I'm always in these debates, or used to be. I ain't got the patience for it no more at this point in my career. But for decades, I've been in these debates, and it's always a stat like this that just reminds me of how wrong-headed people are when they want to make the claim that Black folk are so much better off than we used to be. Of course, we're not enslaved. We're no longer wrestling with Jim Crow or Jane Crow in the way we once were. But I remind people that Black folk still lag far behind white folk in every single leading economic indicator category. So this is what I do as a broadcaster. You ask the wrong question, you get the wrong answer. You got to ask the right question to get the right answer. The question is not whether we are better off now than we were 200 years ago. Of course we are. The question is, how do we stack up today against white folk today? You got to ask the right question. And when it comes to Black women's maternal health, what the data tell us is that a Black woman with a college degree is still more likely to die from childbirth-related causes than a white woman without a high school diploma. So here's just more data of the way that income and education factor into decisions that are made about the maternal health of Black women, Dr. Adams-Pickett.
Yeah. Absolutely. Again, I think it's easy to say to rely on the falsehood, because we know it's not true, that there are more Black women on Medicaid, more Black people on Medicaid than any other ethnicity. You and I know that's not the case, but they like to lean on that. And so they would like to make the assumption that the reason why we're dying more is that we're not as healthy, we're not as educated, we don't have the financial resources. But when we do that reverse uno on them and say, no, we know judges, we know doctors, we know attorneys, we know CEOs who are still dying in childbirth and pregnancy, what's the answer there? What is the excuse there? And there is none. There is the willful obtuseness to say, I'm not going to treat you any differently, when we should be treated differently, because it's necessary.
Got 2 minutes left in this conversation. I want to yield it to you, Dr. Adams-Pickett. So what does, in the final analysis, what does compassionate, collaborative, reproductive health care for Black women look like? Since so many people seem not to have access to it, at least help us imagine or illustrate for us what it does look like.
What it looks like is day one is for the provider to say, I see you. Now you tell me what your concerns are. Now that you're here pregnant, we don't want you to be afraid that you're going to die. We want you to count on living and thriving. So tell me how I can best work with you in a way that makes you feel comfortable, makes you feel safe, and makes you feel that you're in environments where your voice can be heard.
The more you do this, I mean, you've done this for some years now, of course, doing your excellent work at the Augusta Women's Health and Wellness Center there in Georgia. Year in and year out, all things considered, how do you sustain your hope with regard to the data points that that you and others have to navigate their way through year after year?
I sustain my hope when we have conversations like this, Tavis. When I first started practicing 25 years ago, we weren't having these conversations. Not only are we having conversations with you on national platforms, we're having the conversation on international platforms. We have these discussions on PBS. We have these discussions on our national talk shows, because we're not going away. And as long as we continue to knock on the walls and blow the horns, eventually those walls are going to fall down.
Yeah. As we celebrate, there's the word Dr. Adams-Pickett told me to use. I'm going to use it. As we celebrate Black maternal health, we celebrate the work and the witness. I mean that sincerely, the work and witness of Dr. Donna Adams-Pickett, who is making a lasting impact on women's wellness nationwide. And I'm honored to have had her on this nationwide program. Dr. Adams-Pickett, thank you for your time. I know you're busy. Thanks for squeezing in a half hour with me today, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Tavis. Take care.
Take care of yourself. Good to have you on the program. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Texas Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez has retired with his resignation read on the House floor.
Enclosed is my resignation letter to Texas Governor Greg Abbott, effective April 14, 2026 at 11:59 p.m.
Gonzalez admitted to an affair with a staffer and faces additional misconduct allegations. The NAACP is suing Elon Musk's XAI, alleging its Mississippi data center violated the Clean Air Act. The suit claims heavy pollution harming nearby predominantly Black communities. It also claims the pollution is linked to asthma, respiratory diseases, heart problems, and certain cancers. And rapper Lil Baby's company is suing an online smoke shop alleging a hemp collaboration produced illegal cannabis products. The brand ignored a cease and desist, prompting claims the deal damaged the rapper's reputation. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Recall 67A mobile appointments are now available in your area. We come to you quick, easy, and under an hour. Complete the recall to get $500 plus a warranty worth thousands. Schedule today at CummonsRecall.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It's a must-win game for the Clippers tonight at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. They need to beat Golden State in a play-in round game, otherwise their season is over. Both teams have to win 2 games to earn the 8th and final seed in the Western Conference playoffs. The winner tonight plays at Phoenix Friday night. Hip-hop star J. Cole gave up his roster spot on a pro basketball team in China after 1 game. The 2-time Grammy winner had signed a contract to play at least 3 games with the Nanjing Kings in the Chinese Basketball Association. Cole, who played high school ball in North Carolina, had to leave the team because he could not get an extension on his visa to play all 3 games. The first HBCU football game in the Bahamas is scheduled for November 7th this year. Morehouse and Kentucky State will meet up in the premiere of the HBCU Bahamas Classic in Nassau. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Brothers and sisters,
You have something to say, and we want to hear it. KBLA Talk 1580 is engagement radio, not outrage radio. A place where your hopes, your frustrations, and your ideas are welcome 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Real talk, real people, real Los Angeles. KBLA Talk 1580, the station that sounds like the city looks. Tune in on your AM radio dial at 1580. Download our free KBLA 1580 app or listen live on our website at KBLA1580.com.
Unapologetically progressive.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Break out the champagne. Everybody get a laugh.
You know, 5 years goes fast when you're doing something you love. 5 years of being right there with you, in your car, in your kitchen, at work, in your earbuds. And we don't take that for granted, not for a second. When it came time to celebrate our 5th anniversary, we knew it had to mean something. And we're celebrating on the most fitting day there is, Juneteenth. We're still putting the finishing touches on something really special. And before we tell the world, we want to tell you first. Once we announce this event publicly, we expect that seats are going to go fast, really fast. So, go to our website right now at KBLA1580.com and sign up to make sure you're the very first to hear what we've got planned. Before we go public with all the details, you've been riding with us. It's only right you're first to know. KBLA1580.com. We'll see you on Juneteenth for our 5th anniversary banger. Banger, banger, banger.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed. I'm glad about it. All right, a conversation now about the following. Viktor Orban's defeat in Hungary dealt a real blow to MAGA's international ambitions, at least, even as J.D. Vance traveled to Hungary to campaign for Orban. So is this the beginning of the end for these far-right dictators around the globe, or is it way too soon for that declaration? We'll talk to Matt Duss right about now. He's with the Center for International Policy. Matt, good to have you on. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. Great to be here. Thank you.
Good to have you on. Thanks for your time. Let me just start with a couple of broad questions, and we can let it do what it do from there. One, how should we read what happened to Viktor Orban in Hungary? And I raise that because, as you well know, we Americans tend to be focused on domestic policy far more than international policy. But I think this story matters for a lot of reasons, not the least of which, as I intimated a moment ago, Matt, that this is a major blow to MAGA's international ambitions. And many of us were just undone. I mean, not surprised, but just undone when we saw J.D. Vance travel to Hungary to campaign for Viktor Orban. If you know anything about Orban and what he has stood for all these years, then you have to cringe a little bit when you see J.D. Vance, our vice president, over there campaigning for him. But again, Donald Trump is not the only one. Trumpism is alive and well, certainly has been around the globe. I don't want to put too much on what it means that Orban lost, but just again, broadly speaking, how do we read what happened to Orban? How do we read that our vice president was over there campaigning for him?
Yeah, I would say the first thing to take away is that these authoritarian populists are not invincible. Orban had been in power since 2010. He had been reelected multiple times. There were efforts to unseat him by the opposition. They had failed. He had spent a lot of effort kind of refashioning Hungary's institutions, I think clearly undermining its democracy and kind of establishing himself and his party, Fidesz, as the dominant power in the country. There had been, as you noted, a strong relationship between Orban and his people and MAGA. Many in the MAGA movement see Orban and his kind of right-wing Christian nationalism as a model for what they want to create here in the United States. But I think what we saw just in this election, where his opponent, Peter Magyar, won a huge majority, the biggest Democratic majority in any Hungarian election since the end of the Soviet Union, that what it's going to come down to is, can these leaders actually deliver? And, whatever else you can say about him, a majority of Hungarian voters believe that Orban was too corrupt. His government wasn't making their lives better. Many of them obviously hated what he was doing to Hungary's democracy, reshaping it in his own image and for the benefit himself and the people closest to him. So I think this is encouraging in many ways.
Yep. I realize that we are the U.S. of A. They are Hungary, but to the point that you're tipping toward, are there any parallels between what happened to Orban or with Orban in Hungary and what might be getting teed up in this country, if you feel me?
Yeah, no, I very much I do. I think we see Donald Trump doing a lot of what Orban has been doing, right? Donald Trump is, replacing judges, putting in, bureaucrats who are very committed to him. I mean, people from the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, on down, people who are not loyal to the Constitution, people whose primary loyalty is to Donald Trump. And Donald Trump has been explicit about that. If you remember back in his first term, the famous, conversation between Donald Trump and FBI Director James Comey, where he asked for Comey's loyalty, and Comey made Trump angry by saying, "Well, my loyalty is to the Constitution." That's not what Trump is after. That's not what these people like Orban and others are after. They're looking for people who are personally loyal to them and to their political agenda. We see Donald Trump and the people close to him following this model very closely. But again, what we just saw in Hungary is a model for how those leaders can be beaten.
Yep. How do we read more expressly, I raised this earlier, more expressly, the fact that J.D. Vance went over to Hungary to campaign with and for Orban? Donald Trump didn't make the trip, but they had a huge rally that he joined, as I recall, joined the rally by speakerphone. How do we read Trump and Vance's embrace of Orban, and clearly Donald Trump extending his endorsement and support of Orban did not make a difference inside of Hungary?
Right. No, I think Vance is 0 for 2 over the past week with, the Orban being defeated and also the failure of the talks with Iran, which he led in Islamabad. But I think what it shows is that, listen, Vance and Donald Trump in particular do have a lot of influence. There is a faction of right-wing right-wing politics in Hungary and elsewhere in Europe and elsewhere around the world that is very sympathetic, that has their own version of MAGA, that want to create a very kind of exclusivist version of citizenship. But there are also others in these countries, Hungary, as in the United States and elsewhere, that want to have a much more pluralistic and more genuinely democratic country. So again, we saw this. Donald Trump has tried to intervene in other countries' elections in the past, sometimes successfully, as in Argentina recently, sometimes very unsuccessfully, as in Germany, where he and Elon Musk were very engaged in trying to boost the far-right AfD party. That failed. So it's a very mixed record, but I would say the defeat over Orban is probably the most significant defeat for the kind of global MAGA movement we've seen just thus far.
And yet the question remains as to whether or not Orban's defeat in this Hungarian election signals a blow to the global authoritarian movement. I don't want to put too much on it, but how do we read what this loss for Orban means, not just for Trump, but indeed for these authoritarian rulers around the globe?
Yeah, I think the question is, again, we're seeing here, as we saw in our own country and we've seen elsewhere, these leaders can be beaten. They do a lot of, they work very hard to kind of establish their interests and kind of diminish the democratic checks and balances to try to make their own power permanent. But there are ways to arrest that before it gets too far. Sometimes it goes too far. I mean, we've seen this going on in Turkey as well, just to make another example, even though Turkey's leader Erdogan, I wouldn't call him part of necessarily the MAGA movement, but he is someone who has established himself and his party as the dominant force in politics for many years in a way that has diminished the ability of other parties to challenge him democratically. But I think what it all is really going to come down to is, okay, having beaten Orban, can Magyar and his party and this new government, can it deliver? Can it make people's lives better? Ultimately, that is what people are going to be thinking about when they pull that lever in the voting booth.
Yeah. When we come forward with Matt Duss in this conversation, Executive Vice President of the Center for International Policy, former policy advisor, foreign policy advisor to Senator Bernie Sanders, I want to ask him how we read in real time that our military, the U.S. military, has turned back so far. We're told 9 ships and counting in this Iranian port blockade. So the blockade is in full effect, and the U.S. military is turning back a number of vessels trying to get into that Strait of Hormuz to get their oil. And so, again, the blockade is happening, as we all know, right now. And my read of it is that more and more members of Congress, I mean Democrats and even some Republicans, are growing uncomfortable with Trump's rhetoric and whatever this end game is that none of us seems to know for Iran. But I'm sensing, I think you can see it every day, a growing discontent on the part of members of Congress about whatever this end game is in Iran that none of us, again, has an idea about. But the rhetoric, of course, is just, out of control. We'll take Matt Duss's temperature on that when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening. Charitable listening. It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, host of The Voice of Reason, weeknights at 7 p.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580, with a personal invitation for you to join me and Insight.me as we present The Healing Box, live at Inglewood's world-famous Miracle Theater, Saturday evening, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Look, I understand your attachment style has been running your life like a rogue algorithm, and nobody has had the courage to press pause. Until now, Dr. Pakoya McCall and yours truly are curating a night where clinicians, spiritualists, and an all-star panel of Black woman healers like Dr. Shalonda Sunshine Crawford, Dr. Jashana Johnson, and spiritualist Precious McGill will join some amazing spoken word artists and the legendary comedian Louis Dix to diagnose, disrupt, and heal your relational wreckage in real time. Listen, bring your trauma. As a matter of fact, bring your baby mama. No, bring your testimony. And if you're still texting your ex at 2 a.m., baby, you're not just invited, you're the target demo. Tickets are moving fast, so grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before your dating history gets flagged as a pre-existing condition. That's themiracleinglewood.com. We'll see you there Saturday, May 23rd at 7 p.m.
You have something to say, and we want to hear it. KBLA Talk 1580 is engagement radio, not outrage radio. A place where your hopes, your frustrations, and your ideas are welcome 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Real talk, real people, real Los Angeles. KBLA Talk 1580, the station that sounds like the city looks. Tune in on your AM radio dial at 1580. Download our free KBLA 1580 app or listen live on our website at KBLA1580.com.
Unapologetically progressive.
And we're live here outside the Perez family home, just waiting for the... And there they go, almost on time this morning. Mom is coming out the front door strong with a double-arm kid carry. Looks like Dad has the bags. Daughter is bringing up the rear. Oh, but the diaper bag wasn't closed. Diapers and toys are everywhere. Ooh, but Mom has just nailed the perfect car seat buckle for the toddler. And now the eldest daughter, who looks to be about 9 or 10, has secured herself in the booster seat. Dad zips the bag closed, and they're off. But looks like Mom doesn't realize her coffee cup is still on the roof of the car. And there it goes. Oh, that's a shame. That mug was a fam favorite.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just nail the big stuff. Like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Learn more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Visit nhtsa.gov/the
right seat. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
I'm almost 2 full hours through today's program, and once I get live on the air, it's hard to keep up with everything happening in the world, although I do my best in these breaks to tap into what's going on while I'm talking live. My producers do their best to keep me updated. I missed this until just now. We'll talk about it in just a few moments. I got a few other things in front of it, but Donald Trump's at it again. He has posted a new picture of him, this time a picture of him with Jesus hugging him. So there's a new image on his True Social account, an image of Jesus embracing him This comes, of course, just days after the widespread backlash over that image he depicted of him as the Messiah. The new image, which appears to be, again, AI generated, originally was posted on X by a Trump supporter, but Trump grabbed it and pushed it out on his platform. This one depicts Jesus with his arm around Trump's shoulder and one hand on his chest in front of a halo of light and an American flag. So Jesus got the light and the flag. Their heads are leaning against each other, and both of them have their eyes closed. If you haven't seen it, Google it right quick. Look it up. It's the new picture that the new meme, AI generated, that Trump has posted on Truth Social, and people are going in again. But this picture is too much. The American flag, as I said, in the back. Jesus got his arms around, one arm around his shoulder, one arm on his chest. They got their heads leaning into each other. Both of their eyes are closed. So Trump and this Jesus thing is killing me. But he can't have enough. And he posted, he said his comment was with the post, "The radical left lunatics might not like this, but I think it's quite nice. President DJT." The radical left lunatics might not like this, but I think it's quite nice. President DJT. Google it for yourself. You can see it. You know, I ain't making this up. But it's Trump all hugged up, hanging out with Jesus. Anyway, I digress on that. My producers are putting a big picture on the glass in front of me. Yeah, I see it. It's too much. Anyway, have you seen this, Matt? Have you seen this latest post, my friend?
I just saw it. Yes. You know, are we sure it's Jesus? Is that a doctor?
Yeah.
Trump? Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing. Maybe it ain't Jesus. Yeah. I don't know, but for those of us who are true believers, he is the great physician. We do believe
that's true.
That he is the great. He is the great physician.
And he embraces everyone, as we know.
That's it. He embraces us all. So I don't know what kind of pushback you'll get about this. And you know, ain't nothing wrong with Jesus hugging you. We all want to be embraced and loved by Jesus. I love Jesus. I want Jesus to love me. But Trump is just going too far with this. I digress for now. I'm sorry, I had to get that in because it's everywhere now. We'll give Matt Duss the last word when we come forward here on Tavis Smile.
Why does Tavis say when we come forward? Because he's not going back. And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward. Forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is connecting you with services and solutions. Domestic violence and family violence is when someone in an intimate or family relationship tries to gain or maintain power and control over another through a wide range of abusive behaviors. Every single act may amount to abuse. Abuse can take on various forms: psychological and emotional, physical and economic, and sexual abuse. The Genesee Center Incorporated is a nationally recognized nonprofit domestic violence prevention and intervention organization, housing women and children from 30 days up to 2 years through emergency and transitional shelters. The Genesee Center also provides support services like mental health counseling, life skills classes, computer training, job referrals, after-school programs for children, field trips, tutoring, and comprehensive direct legal services. If you need help or you'd like to donate or volunteer, call the Genesee Hotline, 1-800-479-7328. That's 1-800-479-7328, or visit Genesee.org. Everyone has the right to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Real talent is defined by what people can do, not where they learn to do it. So by stopping at the education section of a resume, you might throw away the perfect hire. You might miss someone who has valuable skills to offer to help your business thrive right now and in the future. Because the truth is this: Skills First Hiring helps you see talent others miss, like more than 70 million stars, skilled through alternative routes. When you let their story unfold, you gain a competitive advantage Because hiring managers who start with skills are 60% more likely to find a successful hire. See the real person. Complete. See what others miss. Hire skills first. Learn why it's a competitive advantage at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
Falling in love with Jesus. Falling in love with Jesus. Falling in love with Jesus was the best thing I've ever done.
So maybe in the coming days when Donald Trump walks in the room, instead of Hail to the Chief, this will be the new theme song for the president, since he's posting pictures of him hanging out and hugged up with Jesus. This may be Donald Trump's new theme song.
In his arms, I feel protected. There's no place I'd rather be.
Apparently, right about now, for whatever reason, Donald Trump is falling in love with Jesus and posting memes everywhere. Although I love this track. I love this track from Jonathan Butler. Okay, Miles, I got to get back to this. I ain't got but 4 minutes left, and I got to get back to Matt Duss right quick here. Matt, it appears to me, and I suspect you as well, the Congress is growing more and more discontent with Trump's rhetoric and this endgame for Iran, whatever it is. What say you, sir?
I think that's right. I mean, I think for a lot of, Trump supporters, and for Americans more broadly, Donald Trump was elected having promised to end wars, to promote peace. He specifically criticized both in 2016 and in 2024 America's endless wars. And yet here we are, enmeshed in yet another conflict with no end in sight, and no kind of strategic goal that makes much sense to the American people. Yeah. Not that he even bothered to articulate what that goal actually was before taking us into yet another war. Mm-hmm. Gas prices are up. Their global economic consequences are being felt here, but even more so on some of the most vulnerable populations around the world. Members of Congress, Republican and Democrat, are hearing this from their constituents. So there's no doubt that Donald Trump is feeling the pressure. The question is, at what point does it finally penetrate Donald Trump's information bubble that he has massively miscalculated? I think he understands that he's miscalculated, but unfortunately he still seems to be under the illusion that he can escalate further and force Iran to back down. And I think Iran sees it as in its interest to demonstrate that it simply won't do that. And here we are with neither side willing to back down. Even if Congress wanted to at the moment, Matt, as you well know, they've shown no appetite for wanting to. But even if Congress wanted to pierce the bubble, to use your metaphor, what can Congress do at this point to stop Trump and Netanyahu's disastrous escalating Iran war? Well, one of the most important things they can do is to refuse to fund it. Donald Trump is reportedly preparing to ask for a supplemental, as it's called, of some $200 billion, perhaps more, to fund this war. I think he's probably going to try to tie that funding to other things that are going to be harder to vote against. But I think the message among Democrats is no war, no money for this war. This is a war that Donald Trump went to in an illegal way. He did not seek authorization from Congress, as the Constitution requires. He has not explained why it's in the American people's interest to engage in this war, and therefore Congress is going to use its power of the purse, its power to distribute or to withhold money to demonstrate that. I note that I got just 60 seconds left here. I note that the Center for International Policy, where you are, an officer, has as its mantra, its mandate, advancing a peaceful, just, and sustainable world. Can you imagine we'd ever get back to that notion? That's our goal. That's our project. So we remain committed to that. I hope so. Advancing a peaceful, just, and sustainable world. That is their goal. That's our goal. It ain't the goal of the president. But I digress for now. Matt Duss is Vice President, Executive Vice President to be exact, of the Center for International Policy, former Foreign Policy Advisor for U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders. Matt, thanks for your insights, man. Good to have you on. We'll do it again, I promise. Great to be here. Thank you. Thanks for your time. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Jesus was the best thing I've ever done. In his arms
protected in his arms, never disconnected in his arms. I feel protected. There's no place I'd rather be.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Texas Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez has retired with his resignation read on the House floor.
Enclosed is my resignation letter to Texas Governor Greg Abbott, effective April 14, 2026 at 11:59 p.m.
Gonzalez admitted to an affair with a staffer and faces additional misconduct allegations. The NAACP is suing Elon Musk's XAI, alleging its Mississippi data center violated the Clean Air Act. The suit claims heavy pollution harming nearby predominantly black communities. It also claims the pollution is linked to asthma, respiratory diseases, heart problems, and certain cancers. And rapper Lil Baby's company is suing an online smoke shop alleging a hemp collaboration produced illegal cannabis products. The brand ignored a cease and desist, prompting claims the deal damaged the rapper's reputation. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Recall 67A mobile appointments are now available in your area. We come to you quick, easy, and under an hour. Complete the recall to get $500 plus a warranty worth thousands. Schedule today at CummonsRecall.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It's a must-win game for the Clippers tonight at the Intuit in Inglewood. They need to beat Golden State in a play-in round game, otherwise their season is over. Both teams have to win 2 games to earn the 8th and final seed in the Western Conference playoffs. The winner tonight plays at Phoenix Friday night. Hip-hop star J. Cole gave up his roster spot on a pro basketball team in China after 1 game. The 2-time Grammy winner had signed a contract to play at least 3 games with the Nanjing Kings in the Chinese Basketball Association. Cole, who played high school ball in North Carolina, had to leave the team because he could not get an extension on his visa to play all 3 games. The first HBCU football game in the Bahamas is scheduled for November 7th this year. Morehouse and Kentucky State will meet up in the premiere of the HBCU Bahamas Classic in Nassau. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
There is no denying that we've always been the conscience of this country. KBLA Talk 1580 is progressive talk radio built for our community, by our community, and with hosts who look like you, live near you, and care about what you care about. 50,000 watts of truth right here in Southern California. KBLA Talk 1580. Listen live on your AM radio dial at 1580 or stream us live on our KBLA1580.com website or on our free KBLA 1580 app.
Unapologetically progressive.
will overcome. If you keep on believing, you can overcome. He promised us we would overcome. One day we will. We
That's DJ Rogers on Tavis Smiley, Overcome, by the late, great DJ Rogers. And I am honored in this hour to have two overcomers. It's Heschel and King. Heschel and King for the final hour on Tavis Smiley today. In a moment, I should say later in this hour, we'll be joined by Martin Luther King III. 58 years ago this month, they killed his father on that balcony in Memphis, April 4 to be exact. So I look forward to a dialogue once again in this public space with the eldest son of Dr. King and Coretta, Martin Luther King III, on the backside of this hour. But we commenced this hour joined by Dartmouth professor Susannah Heschel, daughter of the legendary theologian, philosopher, and friend of Dr. King, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. Professor Heschel, good to have you back. Susannah, how are you?
Thank you. It's wonderful to be with you. Thank you for inviting me.
No, it's great to hear your voice. You are always welcome on this platform, as you well know. I want to start with a couple of broad questions. I mean, you teach every day, so you can handle this. A couple of broad questions, and then I want to narrow it with some specifics I want to get to a little bit later in this half hour. But what's your the President of the United States, which we talk about every day on this program, whether we want to or not, is invited every year to the well of Congress to give the State of the Union address. And he lays in every year. Every president does. What's your sense right now? It's a big question. It's a broad question. I'm asking it deliberately and intentionally. What's your sense of the state of the world? I started with that song from DJ Rogers I love, Overcome. That's the hope. That's the dream. That's the aspiration, that we will overcome all this madness at some point. But what's your sense of the state of the world right now, Susannah Heschel?
The state of the world is quite terrible, as we know. I'll just say that this country, the United States, is waging a war. We don't understand why. What's the purpose? We just know that innocent people are being killed, and we don't see how it's going to end and why it's going on. So, but I would say perhaps more than that, if we take the religious temperature of the United States, I think we are in bad shape. We're in the kind of shape that the prophets warned us about in the Bible. We are a country that's become angry at each other, angry at our own lives. We're full of hate. We are destroying our dignity. We are vulgar, using vulgar language from the very top, from the White House. I think we're in very bad shape. And I wish the Hebrew prophets, I wish Dr. King were here to help us, because we desperately need some help to get out of this state.
Tell me more. I love the way you framed it, and you always do this. Whenever Susannah and I are in conversation, I ask one question, she gives me one answer, and it frames the rest of the conversation. She makes it so easy for me, and I love her for that. But that phrase, if you take the religious temperature of our nation right now, tell me more about the way you read that temperature. What are you seeing?
Well, one of the very basic principles of religious faith, of every single religion, is that we treat each other with respect and dignity. That human dignity is, of course, innate. God created us, and either God created every human being or God isn't God. That's it. And if you believe that God made some people better than others, you don't believe in God. That's clear. And there are too many people around these days who are saying that some people's lives are worth more than others, and that's why it's okay to kill them. Well, it's not. So in that sense, the religious temperature of this country is not good. Now, I also have to say that dignity, human dignity, is something that we all value and treasure. We want to be treated with dignity. But our dignity also depends on the way we treat other people. When we treat other people with dignity, then we become people of dignity. Dignity is something that we do. It's not something passive. And when we see the president speaking in vulgar language about the Pope, that I find intolerable.
As I said, you ask her one question, she'll give you a frame with which to operate inside of, and I'm delighted to be in this frame with the daughter of the legendary Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, Susannah Heschel, professor of Jewish studies at Dartmouth. When we come forward, I want to go right to those two words, vulgarity and dignity. Vulgarity and dignity. Maybe not in that order, but we're going to tackle both of them when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
If you keep on believing, you can overcome. He promised us we would
BET and PBS, the Tom Joyner Morning Show, and NPR, the cover of Jet and the cover of Time. #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list, 20 honorary doctorate degrees, a dozen NAACP Image Awards, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. From talk shows to talk radio, nobody's ever done it better. You like that? This is Tavis Smiley.
Can we just talk?
Tavis Smiley. You've heard me say it before, how we talk to one another matters. Earlier this year, we launched our first cohort, and I'm grateful to those who leaned in early and helped to shape the work. Now I'm inviting you to join me for a new live seminar, The Practice of Dialogue, Becoming a More Effective Communicator. This is a small group experience designed to help you strengthen how you communicate in your work, your relationships, and your everyday life. Space is limited to keep the experience personal and interactive. So if you're ready to take your communication to the next level, now is the time to focus on the skills that make conversations meaningful. The new 4-week cohort begins Monday, May 4th, and there's a nice discount for early bird registrants. Visit TavisTalks.com to learn more and reserve your place today. That's TavisTalks.com, because better conversations don't just happen, we practice them.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
Just a little heads up before something bad happens.
Move your coffee cup away from your computer.
Oh, no.
So you can have more control.
Stop. You're texting your boss by mistake.
Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Warning, the cap is loose on that ketchup.
Ugh. Don't wait. You have the power to change the outcome. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
When the story gets twisted, who's going to tell the truth? When they cut the microphones, who's still talking? When history gets rewritten, who remembers what really happened? We do. KBLA Talk 1580. Black media isn't just important right now, it's essential. Because when mainstream outlets move on, we stay. When the headlines ignore our communities, we don't. When decisions are being made that affect Black lives in our schools, our neighborhoods, our economy, KBLA is in the room. This is more than radio. This is a lifeline, a record, a rallying cry. Black stories, Black voices, Black power.
The heat is on.
On the air and in the culture. KBLA Talk 1580. Stay connected. Stay informed.
Stay loud.
Stand up! And the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
And I've heard this over and over again. There are those, and they're often sincere people, who say to Negroes and their allies in the white community that we should slow up and just be nice and patient and continue to pray, and in 100 or 200 years the problem will work itself out, because only time can solve the problem. I think that is an answer to that myth, and it is that time is neutral. It can be used either constructively or destructively. And I'm absolutely convinced that the forces of ill will in our nation, the extreme righteous in our nation, have often used time much more effectively than the forces of goodwill. And it may well be that we will have to repent in this generation, not merely for the vitriolic words of the bad people and the violent actions of the bad people, but for the appalling silence and indifference of the good people who sit around and say, wait on time. Somewhere we must come to see that social progress never rolls in on the wheels of inevitability. It comes through the tireless efforts and the persistent work of dedicated individuals, and without this hard work, time itself becomes an ally of the primitive forces of social stagnation. And so we must help time, and we must realize that the time is always ripe to do right.
Our guest is Susannah Heschel, professor of Jewish studies at Dartmouth College, and the daughter of the renowned Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. This whole hour is Heschel and King. On the backside of this hour, we'll be joined by MLK III, but we start this hour, blessed to start this hour, in dialogue with our friend and sister Susannah Heschel. We're going to get to dignity and vulgarity in just a second, but that King clip raises the specter, raises the issue of how we are using the time that we find ourselves in. Dr. King is right. Time is neutral. It can either be used constructively or destructively. What will historians say into the future, Susannah Heschel, about how we showed up, how we used our time in this moment?
Well, time is, first of all, biblical. God creates the world in time, we're told, on 6 days. And then on the seventh day, God rests, just as we're asked to rest, and we appreciate that. So time is something that comes to us in a very holy way, divine time. We have a week that ends with the Sabbath, just as God ended the week of creation with the Sabbath. I think that's pretty extraordinary, actually. So can we make time holy? And Dr. King is saying that. How should we be using our time? And if you think about it, what is life? It's not an object. It's a matter of time. We have a certain amount of time. We don't even know how much time we have. So what do we want to do with our time? An amazing thing is going to be done. Dr. King was such an extraordinary person. And I was so amazed that a human being could become a Martin Luther King. How extraordinary that is. Yeah. So we can aspire. And of course, Dr. King was a person of enormous dignity, really enormous. And I appreciate that about him so much. He showed us how to live, how to be a person, how to treat other people, including people we don't like, people we consider dangerous. He was always respectful. And I think, what if our whole world were filled with people like Dr. King? It would be a kind of messianic age. In some sense, I think that's what the prophets hoped for.
You said so much that I'm processing. But I must confess, I am still stuck on that question you asked. Not at all rhetorically. Can we make time holy? I'm weaving again. I'm connecting these dots. King says that time is neutral. It can be used constructively or destructively, Susannah Heschel says, raises the question of whether or not we can make time holy. So I'll put your question back to you, Professor Heschel. Can we?
I think we can. And Tavis, the expression, someone will say they go to church Sunday morning and they come out and they say, we really had church today.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what do they mean by that? We know what they mean by that.
Oh, yeah.
That was an hour of transformation. That's what they mean. It was holy. They went into a different realm of life in that hour. That's what it means. So can we have hours like that in our day-to-day life? Can we extend it so the church isn't just on Sunday morning? And yes, Dr. King said, time is neutral. It's what we want to do with it. What do we want to do with our life and with the time we've been given? So in some sense, it's neutral, but then we have the responsibility to make that decision, which is a huge responsibility.
Yeah. For those who may have tuned in late, we started this hour with Susannah Heschel dropping bars, as she always does. These lines, these themes, these notions that make us think. And she raised this issue earlier in our dialogue, again, for those who may have just tuned in, about what we discover when we take the religious temperature of our country right about now, what it says about where we are in this journey. And as she unpacked that, she talked about dignity as something we do. Dignity is a verb. It is something that we do. And she juxtaposed that dignity against the vulgarity that seems so prevalent in our public discourse these days. Let me start with the vulgarity piece. I'll start with the worst stuff and then try to get to the good stuff. The dignity is the good stuff. Let me start with the ugly stuff. As Jesse Jackson might say, let's start with the slummy side and we'll work our way to the sunny side. The late, great Reverend Jesse L. Jackson Jr., slummy versus sunny. I've said this before, and I always feel some sort of way because I hope that people, listeners across the country to this program, for whom I'm grateful to have every day, tune in. I hope they don't think I'm being Puritan about this, but I am getting more and more unnerved by the vulgarity in our public discourse. And I don't know if it's coming from the top down or the bottom up, because everywhere I look, this vulgarity in our public discourse is so commonplace. I was in a conversation with a friend of mine the other day on text about this, that it seems to be the norm, that everybody thinks that it's okay in the public square, in public spaces where children are listening and babies are paying attention and people's ears are tuned. But everybody, literally, in our social media post, the mayor, the governor, the president, everybody feels that it's okay to be vulgar in our public pronouncements, because I guess that's a way to connect. I even know people, Susannah Heschel, who've been told by consultants. I can't speak for Republicans, but I know a number of Democratic consultants, Democratic candidates, who've been told by their consultants that when you use this spicy and saucy language, it makes you more real. It makes you relatable. It suggests that you're connecting to the angst and the pain of everyday people. Juliana Stratton, who just won the Democratic primary for the Senate in Illinois, ran a commercial about Donald Trump, and the whole thing was F him, F him, F him, F him. That was the whole theme of the commercial. She won the Democratic primary. She was on this program. I pushed her on that commercial. We talked about it. I said, what happens if you get elected and Donald Trump or somebody else says F you to you? As a black woman in the Senate, how you going to respond to that? See, now you're going to take it personally. Your feelings are going to get hurt. But that's the commercial that you ran in the Democratic primary in Illinois. Again, I'm not being Puritan about it, but I do have some concerns, Susannah Heschel, that you do about the vulgarity in our public discourse. Am I putting too much on it?
You're absolutely right. I fully agree. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know what's to be done about it, because my point again is I think it's the new norm. It's become commonplace. And again, when consultants are telling candidates, if you talk this way, it makes you relatable, it makes you real, we got a problem, Susannah.
I don't really think people like that kind of language. So those consultants may be off track. I think people actually want some kindness, some gentleness, some appropriate behavior and language. People want help right now. The cost of living is too great. It's too hard to make a living wage. There's too much tension in the air and fear. People can't live like that. There was a moment when Trump might have seemed exciting, thrilling, naughty, crossing the line. But people get tired of that sort of thing. And I think they are tired now. And they want honesty and they want help. And they want the government to do its job and not fool around with AI images of Trump as a Jesus figure, which is really the height of vulgarity.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a book about the Nazi period, how certain Protestant theologians who supported Hitler also said Hitler is like Jesus. He is a Christ on the cross and so forth. Can't throw things like that around. It's wrong. Any clergy person of any faith will tell you don't do that. God is God. Human beings are human beings. You don't fool around this way. It will end up being very destructive for all of us to use these kinds of vulgar images.
Yeah.
It's wrong.
Yeah.
And one day we'll realize it and we'll regret it deeply.
Yeah.
It's not good for our children to grow up with this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So what can we do? We have to speak out. And we have to also, I think, speak in a new language and the kind of words that Dr. King would use. Let's revive his way of speaking. People were deeply moved. He was able to change a country incredibly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And why can't we go back to that?
No, I'm with you on that one. Let me, of course, none of us are as eloquent as Dr. King was, but I take your point. I'm working. I got 4 minutes left here. I'm working my way up to this dignity as something that we do. We'll close on that note. I promise. We're going to close on a high note here. But since you mentioned the Nazi period, how are you processing? We've discussed this on our program a number of times of late. That the views of Israel and, for that matter, Bibi Netanyahu are more and more negative, and those numbers continue to rise among Americans, especially young people. But the view that people have of Israel in the Netanyahu era, which has been extended, obviously, and protracted, and I don't think those two things are disconnected. If you're not a fan of Bibi and his policies, you might have a particular view of Israel. I don't know. But the point is that the data is incontrovertible in this regard, that the negative views of Israel and Bibi continue to rise among Americans, especially young people. I suspect you find that concerning. And if you do, tell me why.
Well, of course, it's concerning on the one hand. On the other hand, I understand it. And I also think, well, Israel is in the same kind of situation that quite a few other countries, including the United States. We have a president who's, what shall I say, highly problematic in ways that are very similar to the prime minister of Israel.
Yeah.
And we need to find a way out. Now, what happened in the election in Hungary, also in Brazil, those are signs of hope. But I would say we need help. I would say that also as a Jew. There are times when I feel we Jews, whether in Israel, the United States, Europe, wherever, we feel some sense as though we are losing our moral compass.
Yeah.
And we need help. We need allies to help us through this. So I would just say that, yeah, I'm horrified too by what's going on in the Israeli government right now. I know it won't last. I hope it changes very quickly, like Hungary, like Brazil.
Yeah.
And instead of condemning, let's look for allies who will help us get back on the right path.
Nope, I love it. I've got 60 seconds to go. I'll give it all to you, Susannah. 60 seconds. Dignity, you said, is what we do. In a moment like this, how do we do dignity? How do we do dignity right about now?
I just want to say that I take hope also from Dr. King and the civil rights movement, because we as Jews had just finished this horrible Second World War where 6 million Jews were murdered and we were lost and our hearts were shattered. And Dr. King restored our souls. He gave us pride in the Bible. We were hiding our heads as Jews. People wanted to keep it quiet in public. He restored us. He gave us back a sense of pride and a sense of our dignity. And I would say I need that. We all need that right now.
Yeah.
I want to express my gratitude. And what's amazing too? Whenever I meet one of the civil rights leaders, they tell me, I was so grateful for your father.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that was 60 years ago, and they're grateful 60 years later. We will be grateful 60 years from now if we have new allies who will help us through this very horrible time and restore our dignity as Jews, as Christians, as Muslims, people all over the world.
She's part of a grand legacy, She is the daughter of the legendary Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. Dr. Cornel West is a regular on this program. He's here every Monday and Thursday, top of the second hour every week. And it's not so often that a couple of days go by where he does not raise the name of your father. He's always referencing Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. He did it a couple of days ago on this program. Does it all the time. Susannah Heschel is the daughter of the rabbi, and she's professor of Jewish studies at Dartmouth College, a star in her own right, and I'm always honored to be in conversation with her. Professor Heschel, good to have you on. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Great to be with you.
Always an honor to have you on. As I said, it's Heschel and King in this hour. We go from the daughter of the rabbi to the son of the king, MLK III, when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Texas Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez has retired with his resignation read on the House floor.
Enclosed is my resignation letter to Texas Governor Greg Abbott, effective April 14, 2026 at 11:59 p.m.
Gonzalez admitted to an affair with a staffer and faces additional misconduct allegations. The NAACP is suing Elon Musk's XAI, alleging its Mississippi data center violated the Clean Air Act. The suit claims heavy pollution harming nearby predominantly black communities. It also claims the pollution is linked to asthma, respiratory diseases, heart problems, and certain cancers. And rapper Lil Baby's company is suing an online smoke shop alleging a hemp collaboration produced illegal cannabis products. The brand ignored a cease and desist, prompting claims the deal damaged the rapper's reputation. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Recall 67A mobile appointments are now available in your area. We come to you quick, easy, and under an hour. Complete the recall to get $500 plus a warranty worth thousands. Schedule today at CumminsRecall.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It's a must-win game for the Clippers tonight at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. They need to beat Golden State in a play-in round game, otherwise their season is over. Both teams have to win 2 games to earn the 8th and final seed in the Western Conference playoffs. The winner tonight plays at Phoenix Friday night. Hip-hop star J. Cole gave up his roster spot on a pro basketball team in China after 1 game. The 2-time Grammy winner had signed a contract to play at least 3 games with the Nanjing Kings in the Chinese Basketball Association. Cole, who played high school ball in North Carolina, had to leave the team because he could not get an extension on his visa to play all 3 games. The first HBCU football game in the Bahamas is scheduled for November 7th this year. Morehouse and Kentucky State will meet up in the premiere of the HBCU Bahamas Classic in Nassau. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Break out the champagne. Everybody get a glass.
You know, 5 years goes fast when you're doing something you love. 5 years of being right there with you, in your car, in your kitchen, at work, in your earbuds. And we don't take that for granted, not for a second. When it came time to celebrate our 5th anniversary, we knew it had to mean something. And we're celebrating on the most fitting day there is, Juneteenth. We're still putting the finishing touches on something really special. And before we tell the world, we want to tell you first. Once we announce this event publicly, we expect that seats are going to go fast, really fast. So, go to our website right now at KBLA1580.com and sign up to make sure you're the very first to hear what we've got planned. Before we go public with all the details, you've been riding with us. It's only right you're first to know. KBLA1580.com. We'll see you on Juneteenth for our 5th anniversary banger. Banger, banger, banger. Freedom is an endless meeting, so let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Walking Jerusalem, talking Jerusalem, singing Jerusalem, being Jerusalem. High up, oh, in Jerusalem, when I die. Oh, being Jerusalem, singing Jerusalem, shouting Jerusalem, praying Jerusalem. High up, oh, in Jerusalem, when I die.
It's Mahalia Jackson on Tavis Smiley. You can't talk about Dr. King and not take the opportunity to play one of his favorites, Mahalia Jackson. We started this hour with DJ Rogers, a little more contemporary, the late, great DJ Rogers. I told you this hour is going to be Heschel and King. What an amazing conversation that was for the last half hour with Susannah Heschel, daughter of the late, great Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. We go from the daughter of the rabbi to the son of the king. I'm honored to welcome back to this program one more again. Every time we have a public conversation, say nothing of our private conversations, but every time I have a public conversation with him or any member of his family, these days it's of the immediate family, it's just Martin and Bernice at this point. But I am always humbled and honored and grateful to be in conversation with anybody connected to the man I regard as the greatest American this country has ever produced, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And so once again, I express my gratitude for the time given to me right now by my friend, my brother, MLK III. Martin, how are you, my friend?
I am doing wonderful. And how are you?
And if I can, you know me, man, if I complained, I'd be an ingrate, but I'm doing well. What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
Well, can I start by just saying how much, you know, all of the work that you've done over the years is so greatly appreciated to help move our nation in a positive direction. And what you do every day by bringing information to the community. And so I just want you to know how much I appreciate you personally. Over the years, from when we first met many, many years ago, we're getting older. I don't proclaim to be old, but older.
No, that we are, but we're getting better. As they say, we're getting older, but we're getting better, Martin. We're getting better, man. And I am, as I said, I mean it sincerely. I never, ever take for granted what it means to be in conversation with you. I was saying to somebody the other day on this program that somebody raised the book is the wonderful volume of the collection of your father's works, A Testament of Hope. That book is, put together by James Washington. I have a copy. Yeah. I have a number of copies of that book, and somebody raised that book the other day, and I said to them on the radio, let me tell you a funny story about this. Not a funny story, but a story that moves me about this book. So I have a few copies of that book in I've got a number of libraries at my office, at my house. I got libraries here and there. But in one of my libraries, the one at my office down the hallway from this studio. I have a copy of that book, Testament of Hope, and it's one of the greatest gifts I've ever received. It was given to me by the King family, and every one of them signed that book in chronological order. So you open that book up, and there you have on the title page, to Tavis, signed by Coretta Scott King, and then Yolanda King, and then MLK III, and then Dexter, and then Bernice, one of my prized possessions, to have every member of that family sign that book and give that to me as a gift. And so I have that book, and I go to it all the time, but it means so much to have all of y'all's signatures on that one book that was gifted to me. So anyway, it's great to be with you. How is Dr. King and Coretta Scott King's grandbaby, for starters?
And thank you for asking. She is doing well, getting to graduate from high school in a few weeks, and then going she's going to be going to Columbia in the fall, in September.
Wow.
Is going to New York City.
Yeah, there are two questions about that. Number one, as how's her daddy feel about her even going that far away from home?
We won't deal with it.
Yeah.
she's a daddy's girl.
Yeah.
I really am now beginning to focus. My gosh, it's just a few weeks.
Yeah.
During the summer, and she's flying. She's flying. You got to let your kids fly. So
yeah.
This is what she wants to do. She certainly she did not want to be in Atlanta, not because she does not like Atlanta, but she felt like she would be in less of a bubble. Although going to New York City, she has been blessed to be able to speak at the United Nations. She wants to be there. She wants to be engaged. She wants to be who she is, which is an activist. And she'll do that in her own way, saying she's going to go into human rights law. So we are very, very, very proud of her. The most proud moment I've had thus far was she recently was engaged in a cotillion. So a daddy-daughter dance was in order. And so I just loved spend that time with, and all the girls, 28 of the young ladies that were there as well.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful, man. Dr. King and Coretta Scott King only have one grandchild, and it is and the father of that grandbaby is MLK III, and I looked at myself and said, is that possible? That grandbaby is graduating high school. I remember. Martin and I have been together a long time. So I knew before he got married and when he got married and the baby was born, now she's finishing high school and going to Columbia. It's just hard to imagine. But the time waits for no man or woman for that matter. And so the time is moving. Speaking of time, we just talked to Susannah Heschel and we played a clip of the sound of your father talking about time and how time is neutral. Dr. King said it can be used constructively or destructively. And I asked Susannah Heschel after we played that clip of your father what she makes of the way we are using our time. What are historians going to say about the way we showed up in this particular time? So I think it's probably wise to ask you that same question, since it is your father who made the comment. How are we using our time as a nation right about now, Martin?
Well, I think it depends on who you're talking about, too, because obviously there are many of us who feel like we're constructively using our time, but the leadership, particularly at the White House level, obviously appears to be going in a destructive manner, not a manner to bring people together, to unify our nation, and really try to help unify the world. I think that, time will tell, as you're saying. If we're able to have an election, I'm saying that because I'm really concerned about whether or not this administration is. I know they're working to create a climate where we won't have an election, or an election that is skewed in a very dangerous direction. Every day, our lives are challenged because we just don't know what this administration is going to be. You think that we're at the lowest level that we can be, and then this administration finds a new low every week, if not every day. And the question is, how do you rise a nation above what is actually going on to reach a higher level of elevation, a higher level of communication, a higher level of humanity? It seems like the folks in charge don't really care about humanity. That's crystal clear. And yet there's still people who are following that. So the question is there something wrong with me? I don't mean that literally, but is there something wrong with those of us who see it differently? Or is there something wrong with the population that has allowed this to happen, believing that it's going to create a better results. It's just like Dad says, darkness can't put out darkness, only light can't do that. Violence can't stomp out violence, only love can do that. And so we got to create that kind of climate in our society so we can ultimately move forward and not move backward. And not at the end of the day, he would also say we must learn nonviolence, or we may face non-existence. We're at that point, this critical point right now, where humankind, might try to deviate into that area. All of us who are freedom fighters, justice fighters, you and so many of us in our nation must come together and demand justice, but also demand righteousness, demand truth, and create a different kind of nation. I mean, we're at a. I don't think that, I know in my 68 years, I never thought we would deviate into this level, although I knew it was possible.
Yeah. When you say deviate to this level, I'm glad you went there. When we come forward, I want to just get MLK III's read on this. I've been thinking about this the last couple of days, knowing he's going to be on the program. Everybody's talking about the Pope and the way that Donald Trump has gone in on the Pope. You do realize that the Pope is a spiritual leader. Dr. King was a spiritual leader, but Dr. King did not hold his tongue. If you know anything about the way that Dr. King expressed himself to LBJ, the president then, when he was waging that war in Vietnam, that's what the Beyond Vietnam speech is all about. He said that America, you are the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today. I wonder how Donald Trump would have gone in on Dr. King, given what he's done to the Pope, if Dr. King were here bearing witness the way he did with LBJ. If that had been Donald Trump instead of LBJ, if you think that Donald Trump went in on the Pope, just imagine what he would have done or said to Dr. King, and that would have been interesting because Dr. King wouldn't have held his tongue either, and the Pope hasn't. But my point is, if you got so little respect as to going on the Pope, I can't imagine that he wouldn't have had the same kind of commentary about Dr. King, and then we would have sure enough had a throwdown in this country if he went after Dr. King in that way. But this is what happens when you speak truth to power. You get this sort of pushback, and nobody did that better than Dr. King. We're talking to his son, MLK III, on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
I need a little range, step to the range. There's a new flavor in town, the Jalapeno Ranch Club at Chick-fil-A. With that juicy Chick-fil-A original spicy or grilled chicken, a buttermilk ranch bun, candied bacon, pepper jack cheese, and jalapeno ranch sauce. It's got big ranch vibes with a little heat. Chick-fil-A's new Jalapeno Ranch Club, available for a limited time only. Order ahead on the Chick-fil-A app.
And we're live here outside the Perez family home, just waiting for and there they go. Almost on time this morning. Mom is coming out the front door strong with a double-arm kid carry. Looks like Dad has the bags. Daughter is bringing up the rear. Oh, but the diaper bag wasn't closed. Diapers and toys are everywhere. Ooh, but Mom has just nailed the perfect car seat buckle for the toddler. And now the eldest daughter, who looks to be about 9 or 10, has secured herself in the booster seat. Dad zips the bag closed, and they're off. But looks like Mom doesn't realize her coffee cup is still on the roof of the car. And there it goes. Oh, that's a shame. That mug was a fam favorite.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Learn more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Visit nhtsa.gov/the
right seat. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, host of The Voice of Reason, weeknights at 7 p.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580, with a personal invitation for you to join me and Insight.me as we present The Healing Box, live at Inglewood's world-famous Miracle Theater, Saturday evening, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Look, I understand your attachment style has been running your life like a rogue algorithm, and nobody has had the courage to press pause. loss. Until now, Dr. Pakoya McCall and yours truly are curating a night where clinicians, spiritualists, and an all-star panel of Black woman healers like Dr. Shalonda Sunshine Crawford, Dr. Jashana Johnson, and spiritualist Precious McGill will join some amazing spoken word artists and the legendary comedian Louis Dix to diagnose, disrupt, and heal your relational wreckage in real time. Listen, bring your trauma. As a matter of fact, bring your baby mama. No, bring your testimony. And if you're still texting your ex at 2 a.m., baby, you're not just invited, you're the target demo. Tickets are moving fast, so grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before your dating history gets flagged as a pre-existing condition. That's themiracleinglewood.com. We'll see you there Saturday, May 23rd at 7 p.m.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
It does indeed, with Martin Luther King III. Honored to have him on this program once again. Martin, you heard me say a moment ago that I've been pondering this. Everybody's talking about the president and the Pope. I'm thinking of the president and the preacher, of course, being your father. MLK had the good sense, LBJ rather. LBJ had the good sense to never go in on MLK the way this president's gone in on the Pope. What do you make of it?
Well, first of all, I don't think we can look at many things that this president does as rational.
Yeah.
We have to look at things that he does as irresponsible. And what is more perplexing to me is how he can continue to get away with what he does and what he says.
Yeah.
And people seem to be devoid of it. It's the most perplexing thing. No one else, he's an anomaly.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's just say that. There's no other candidate. We see what's happening with the governor's race in California and many other things.
That's right.
That can get away with the kind of things, nor should they, quite frankly.
Sure,
he shouldn't be even getting away with it. He's at some point going to have to be held accountable. And there's something, while it doesn't feel that way, called karma.
Mm-hmm.
You reap what you sow, and at some point karma is going to have to emerge. And I don't want to be around when that karma does emerge. I'm not wishing any bad on anyone, because I'm a person who loves people and believes in people. But when you do so many things and you have total disregard for human life, something has got to occur.
Yeah.
Now, I think we may begin to see some change, as I started off by saying, if we have an election, and I say that very carefully,
Mm-hmm.
because there are those who are putting in place executive orders. I imagine we will have the election, but you can't take it for granted. That's why, before Dad told us about his dream, he talked about give us the ballot. He understood that we had to be engaged in a process. And that in process is voting, and people still don't think they should vote. Some do.
Yeah.
So I just think that we're at a critical juncture. I think that, again, this president is going to do whatever they used to say loose lips sink ships.
Oh, yeah.
He has loose lips, but no ship seems to be sinking other than the American economy. All kind of things. Gas is going off the chain. Food is off the chain. We know all this. So the question is, what are we going to do about it? And that's why we have to engage. I believe we have to stay on the battlefield. Black folk have always understood that, because, I think, for example, the tragedy in Minneapolis where a white woman and a white man were killed by ICE.
Mm-hmm.
I think that began a process to wake up some whites in America, because, we've always known this. We've never accepted it, but we've always known how the military militia complex operates. But I'm very hopeful. I think I'm also very much, by the way, concerned about what AI is doing, wiping out jobs.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do to replace the capacity for families to be able to take care of themselves. We have healthcare costs that are running off the chain. There are those who want to destroy Social Security. There's so many things and issues that we have to focus upon.
Yeah.
What I do know is it takes a few good human beings to bring about change. Dad and Mom and many of us have shown us that.
Yeah.
We got to stay on the battlefield. We don't have the luxury of just going off and just giving up.
And stay on the battlefield, we will. When we come forward in our remaining moments with Martin Luther King III, we will talk about these inequalities. The Fair Housing Act anniversary, the signing of it just passed a couple of days ago. Speaking of LBJ, so we'll talk about where we are in this moment. His father gave that brilliant speech, The Other America. So we'll close in the few minutes that we have left talking about reflections on the other America all these years later. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Real talent is defined by what people can do, not where they learn to do it. So by stopping at the education section of a resume, you might throw away the perfect hire. You might miss someone who has valuable skills to offer to help your business thrive right now and in the future. Because the truth is this: skills first hiring helps you see talent others miss, like more than 70 million stars, skilled through alternative routes. When you let their story unfold, you gain a competitive advantage, because hiring managers who start with skills are 60% more likely to find a successful hire. See the real person, complete. See what others miss. Hire skills first. Learn why it's a competitive advantage at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
You are indeed for another 5 minutes here. Got 5 minutes left with Martin Luther King III. Honored always to be in discourse with him. We played a clip earlier, Martin, of your father in that brilliant The Other America speech. I find myself saying all the time that Dr. King did give more than one speech in his life, and that speech had more than one line in it. I want my children to live in a nation where they'll not be judged by the color of their skin, by the content of their character. We act like that's the only thing we know from his amazing and brilliant corpus and body of work. So I try to expose people as often as I can to the other stuff that he had to say those 39 years of his life. And so I'm reflecting these days on this Other America speech with regard to the inequalities that you mentioned earlier, the issue of housing. What say you in reflection about this powerful presentation, The Other America, all these years later, Martin?
Sad that it still holds true. In fact, the gulf is wider. That's the tragedy. I mean, there's some people who've done extraordinarily well and really are doing very well, but the gulf between the haves and the have-nots has grown phenomenally. And that is very sad in 2026, that we as a nation are creating larger holes instead of filling those holes and creating the opportunity for for those to lift themselves up. So, I'm certainly very sad, not that I will ever give up or give in or give out, but I'm saddened that we are here. I would have expected us to be so much further. Certainly had Dad lived, had Malcolm X lived, had Robert Kennedy lived, our nation would be on a different trajectory. But our trajectory is going the wrong way. And I think Americans have got to stand up and say, look, we're not going to accept this going the wrong way. We're going to change this trajectory so that, peace, justice, equality, opportunity can exist in the richest country on the planet. I mean, trillions and trillions of dollars, and yet we still have over 100 million people living in poverty. There's something wrong with that. And we ought to not just say there's something wrong, we must do something about it.
Yeah. I hope that when it comes to this fight, that we are not fatigued. We started with Mahalia Jackson, walking Jerusalem, but we ain't got to Jerusalem yet. We still got some work to do down here. But I wonder if again, Donald Trump just flooding the zone, as they say, is causing some of us to be fatigued. I think I see evidence, Martin, that people are still ready for the fight. To quote you, that we're still on the battlefield. But I hope we're not fatigued at this point, because now is not the time for that. I think we agree.
We don't have that luxury, and there are some who probably are, but there are others who maybe are not focused. And how do we create and galvanize focus? By now, you should be focused. I mean, when you alienate Christians and Muslims on the same day, on Easter, when you say you're going to destroy a whole civilization, and you still don't know this man is sick. I mean, there's a sickness that is beyond unconscionable. There are people around that should be stopping him. I mean, and we hadn't heard not one, I hate to put it in just Democrat and Republican, but we hadn't heard one Republican come out and say something to say, look, we must have a course correction. And that's what I'm saying. The nation has to have a course correction to at least hold this man accountable. We're not doing that.
No, MLK III says course correction. His father said a revolution of values. They are on the same page. That's exactly what Martin means. We want a course correction, but his father would say what this nation needs is a revolution of values. And on that note, we will stop because I'm out of time. I am always, as I said, just humbled to be in conversation with my friend Martin Luther King III on this program or any place else. Thank you for your time. My best to your bride and your daughter. Till I say congratulations on graduation. Hope to see you soon, my friend.
Thank you, Travis. Certainly so.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man. Stay strong, my friend. Just like that, 3 hours gone. Lord willing, back here tomorrow to do it all over again. Until tomorrow, thanks for tuning in to Travis Smiley. And as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Texas Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez has retired with his resignation read on the House floor.
Enclosed is my resignation letter to Texas Governor Greg Abbott, effective April 14th, 2026 at 11:59 p.m.
Gonzalez admitted to an affair with a staffer and faces additional misconduct